welcome to the Honest Hour, or MOT today, whatever. I'm your host, Luis Acevedo, and today we're just going to do, or tonight I should say, we're just going to do some conversations, debates, and yeah. So the topics for today: why shouldn't we cancel student debt? We talked about that earlier, but I think that's a good one to go over. And then why should corn, but instead of the C, a P, be legal? And then why is Trump not a traitor? So I figure that these topics are good to talk about. I mean, they're all very timely, right? Because you got Trump with the FBI raid. You have people suffering from corn addiction. And then Joe Biden's plan to forgive student debt, $10,000, and then $20,000 for Pell Grants. So just want to see people's opinions on it, have conversations, debates, see why they think it, the debts shouldn't be erased or should be erased, or why they think corn should be legal or not illegal. Can you explain the negative of this bill? Of what bill? What bill are you talking about exactly? Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, great. I am just terrific. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Yourself?
All right. Yeah, terrific, my friend.
Good,
Terrific.
good.
So, I am Eugene. I am from New York City, New York, United States of America. Where are you from and what's your name, my friend?
Yeah, my name is Luis. I am from Ohio.
From Ohio.
Yep.
Are you from Cleveland, Columbus, or Cincinnati?
Closer to the Cleveland area, but not from Cleveland, no. So what topic do you want to talk about?
Okay. Well, you see, I'm not that professional of talking, but I tell you this much. It says, why is Trump not a traitor? Trump is a traitor.
All right.
Definitely a traitor. He is a Russian spy, and he must go to prison for whatever time the law says. I don't know. I'm not into a law, but he must definitely be arrested, and put into prison. That's what I'll tell you all about it. I mean, I don't know about the corn, why it should be legal or illegal, but Trump is definitely a traitor.
Why do you
has
think?
Been a traitor from the very beginning. Why? Because Putin hired him. That's
How do
why.
you know that?
Putin put him in power, and Putin told him what to do. And this dumbass was thinking that the Putin will cover him all the time, but no, actually.
Why do you think that?
Putin don't give a fuck about him.
Why do you think that, though?
Hopefully the Trump will go to prison.
Why do you
and
think
Putin
that?
will be assassinated. That's what I hope for.
All
Why?
right.
Because
That's-
Putin wants to take over U.S.
All right. That was a little harsh. Well, let's start over again. Let's not talk about, offing anybody. All right. Hey, how's it going?
I am making it. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. By the way, guys, everybody that's in the queue, one person at a time. So we'll try to keep these reasonable lengths, but I'm just doing one person at a time.
So why we shouldn't cancel student debt is one simple reason.
Okay.
Everybody who took on student debt, I won't say everybody, but I would say 99.9% of people who took on student debt were over the age of 18, which makes them an adult, and they legally signed a binding contract that stated they were going to pay this amount of money back.
Do you know where most of the student loan debt comes from?
As far as what? I mean, it comes from students, obviously, but what do you mean?
No, like who lends out the money? Who's the number one lender
Big
for?
bank,
Wrong.
federal government.
The government does. So the government uses your tax dollars to give people loans.
which is tied to big banks and all that stuff also.
Yeah. So, but it's the government that's giving the loans primarily.
Right.
So you're okay with the government giving out federal loans in your tax dollar, but you're not okay with the federal government assisting in erasing some debt?
Absolutely, it's an investment.
How is it an investment? What's the average college? So the average bachelor coming out that has a BA, bachelor's degree, whatever, what do they make on average when they come out?
I'll be honest, I have not a clue. I'm not a college graduate.
Fair enough. So it's about
I'm
like
a business
50,000.
owner that came out of high school owning or getting into $100,000 of debt with a business and not college.
Cool. So, the average is right around like 50K when they come out. And they have massive amount of debt. Way more than 50K. Like it'll take them years to pay off the debt.
Right.
Okay. And do you know that these loans are predatory?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're fine with predatory loans?
Absolutely.
Why are you fine
Because
with predatory
if
loans?
If somebody is smart enough to go to college, they should be intelligent enough to know whether or not their degree is going to make them enough money to back their investment up or not.
And you don't think that college is being pushed on everybody today? And that means that most people are going there because they've been brainwashed by their parents or society to go to college?
Oh, I'm sure people are, but like I said, at 18, you're a legal adult, and you sign that dotted line.
So you think it's okay for an
That's making an adult
18-year-old?
decision.
So do you think an 18-year-old is ready to make big life decisions?
Do what?
So do you think an 18-year-old is ready to make really big life decisions, like taking out $100,000 in debt?
I did.
So, but in general, do you think that they are mature enough, giving the society, to make that kind of decision?
They should be, yeah. I mean, at 18, you're an adult. And
But
any
do you
other
know that the
legal
brain?
aspect-
So why is it that 18's when you're an adult, but not 25? Because 25 is when your brain stops developing. It's when it reaches its full maturity.
Because, like, obviously, yeah, we all know your brain keeps on developing until you're 25. Legally speaking, the government gives us a hold at 18 is when we're a legal adult. So let me ask you this: does an 18-year-old have the mindset to know if I go out and I unalive somebody, this could affect me the rest of my life?
Yes, but the monetary situation is a little bit different, is it not? Because they're being told that college is a good return on investment, right?
Yeah, but everybody got a paper and it showed what your loan is, what your term is, and your interest rate and everything like that. And you signed on the line stating that you understand all that. If you didn't really understand all that, you should have asked somebody or got some.
But what if you're being told? I mean, a lot of people are being told that they're going to make good money coming out of college because they are investing in their future, but a lot of them don't.
Right.
So they're being
You
tricked.
should have did a little bit more research on the job.
Yeah, but they're being tricked.
I mean, you can say they're being tricked, or is it them being tricked, or is it them not looking into what they're about to do with the rest of their life?
Yeah, you can make that argument, but basically what you're in support of is crippling debt for students for the rest of their lives.
That's like not my problem. That's their problem. That's
But
what
that
they
does.
so-
Do you know that
decided to do.
that has a negative effect on the economy?
But still, yeah,
So that means you're a business owner, right?
absolutely.
So that means somebody with crippling debt may not be able to afford to pay you for your service, and there's going to be an increasing amount of people with crippling debt who will not be able to pay for your service, which could eventually hurt your business. Could it not?
See, no, not at all. I work for the state. I'm a truck driver.
Oh, so you get paid by the state. So you make your money from the state. So our taxes pay for you.
Yes.
All right. So it's cool for you to get paid by the government.
Absolutely, because I provide a product or a service for the government. It's actually
You
not
said, but
technically
hang on.
for
You're
government
this is
per
funny.
se.
Hang on. This is kind of funny because you just said that it's an investment for the reason why the government is the number one lender for student debt is because it's an investment. So the people is a commodity for the government.
Absolutely, we all are.
Yeah, but then they're less of a commodity if they're buried in debt.
But the government's still getting their payment.
But it's not helping you.
The thing is like it might not be helping me, but it's going to help me by not using tax money to pay for their student loans.
But how are you going? So is the government? So let me ask you this: is the government going to come to you and take out money from your paycheck directly, saying, "All right, Amos, we need some money to pay for the student debt"? Are they going to do that?
Directly through taxes, absolutely.
Yeah, well, they already do that by paying off the student debt. I mean, by paying for the student loans. So they already take tax money to pay for student loans, which you're okay for, which these kids will never pay for, and you benefit off of it not at all.
Yeah, but the student loans is supposed to be paid back. That's the thing. If, in a perfect society, you take out your student loans, you pay your student loans back with interest rates, and that, if everybody did that, would boost the economy by one, everybody's getting a education to help different jobs and stuff in the economy, and then two, the government's going to make a little bit of interest for loaning out that money just as a bank would for a car.
But the loans are predatory. And you're okay with predatory loans.
Predatory or not.
So predatory loans, getting kids on crippling debt is okay. As long as they pay it back, it's fine. But they'll never pay it back. A lot of them won't pay it back.
So you say predatory, but is it forced to go to college?
Well, a lot of parents pressure their kids into it. Society pressures you into going to it. So no, it's not forced. It's not forced, but I will say that there's a lot of coercion into going into college. Yes.
Okay, so why not, like, what would be wrong with somebody, before they sign on the dotted line for their college loan, what would be wrong with them doing extensive research, let's say a week of extensive research, going and knocking on doors of different places that they could possibly work or
but they're not.
Loans
Yeah, I get it, but they're not, obviously, right? So a lot of people aren't. And by the way, guys, everybody that's in the chat, I have no student debt. I have no dog in the game whatsoever. None whatsoever. I have no student debt. I have no debt whatsoever. I'm actually probably one of the only people out of the 274 here who can say I don't have a debt. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have a car loan. I don't have credit card debt. I have zero debt. None whatsoever. Just so that's out of the way. So I'm not coming from a position where I want it to benefit me. I think it'll benefit society. I think it'll be an investment on society. I think that it will be a net positive for the economy as well.
So where's the positive for the economy come out at?
Yeah, so where it comes from is the fact that we have a debt-based economy. Do you know what that means? Do you know how our money's printed?
Yeah, it's all printed. We're in debt to people, and that's how we live our life.
Okay, so the only way money is created is through debt. Literally. In the United States, I mean, there's like 3% of it isn't, but 97% of all of our money is created through debt. So we need debt in order to make money. That's a fact. So how will this help the community? How will this help the society? How will this help the economy? Well, if you are doing debt forgiveness, you are deleting debt from the economy. It then means you have to reduce the money supply naturally. You can't produce as much money. And if you can't produce as much money, there is a natural deflationary effect that takes place because the money supply is restricted. And if the money supply is restricted and deflation takes place, that means your money becomes more valuable.
Can you give me an example of anywhere in history that has happened?
Yeah, so I mean, the IMF does debt forgiveness. Bill Clinton in 2000 did debt forgiveness for a lot of poor countries that we gave foreign aid to. Additionally, in the Bible, I mean, it talks about the Jubilee in Deuteronomy 15, every 7 years, forgiving the debts of the people. And this was to release them from debt slavery.
Okay.
So it's happened quite a bit.
I don't know. I just can't see. It's just like our stimulus money that we got. We get all this stimulus money, give it all away, and then we are in a crippling fiscal and financial war, it seems like, of nobody can afford anything. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Nobody can afford anything. Fuel is out the butt, and like you can't say that that's not from giving the money out. And I see the same thing happening with this student debt stuff.
Yeah, I'm not for giving money away. I'm not at all. I don't think that we should be giving $60 billion to Ukraine. I don't think that we should be giving corporations welfare. I don't agree with that whatsoever. I don't agree with food stamps. I don't agree with Social Security. I don't agree with Medicare. I don't agree with Medicaid. I don't agree with any social net there is. But what I do agree with is the forgiveness of debt, because that can help get our economy on the right track.
They can put it on the right track.
Yes, because how do you get rid of a debt-based economy? Well, first off, you got to get rid of all the debt. And then you may have a possibility.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You're fine. Then you may have the possibility to go back to a sound money to back it. But first you need to erase all the debt.
So the program that's coming up is only $10,000 per student loan, correct?
And $20,000 for Pell Grants, yes.
For Pell Grants, okay.
And it's for people that make, for singles, it's for people that make under $125,000, and for married couples, it's $250,000.
Okay, but realistically, is that right?
Yeah, I think
So for
that
a
debt
single
should be for.
person-
I think that we should have debt forgiveness throughout the country every 7 to 10 years for everybody. I'm talking.
Do you think-
Yes, I think that mortgages, car loans, student debt should be forgiven out of 7 to 10 years, I'd say.
So, do you think that somebody who is fiscally responsible and live within their means, making $125,000 a year, do you think they need, or do you honestly think they would need $10,000 for student loans? Or
Potentially.
do you think they would be able to?
Depends on
pay
where they
off?
live. Depends on where they live. If they live in California or New York City, like Los Angeles or New York City, or, Austin, Texas, where cost of living is high, well then, yeah, that $125,000 is not going to go a long way. And yes, medical debt too, all debts. I'm for all debt forgiveness.
I don't know. I'm for which obviously our medical system is screwed anyways. But medical, I can be compassionate about it because in most situations somebody didn't ask to be in that situation.
Well, I will say this.
Smokers and
Most people, the insurance companies, it's known, most health issues are a direct cause of poor life decisions. So if your logic is you sign the dotted line, therefore pay back your debt, but then you're going to say you're okay with medical debt, most people that get into medical debt because of their poor life decisions. So it's their choice.
Well, that's what I was about to say is I'm more compassionate for medical debt, but that's what I was about to say is people who smoke cigarettes and people who do these negative things towards their body, which Like, I'll just give you an example. So my dad, he was a pretty healthy guy. He didn't use tobacco, didn't chew. Like, he drank a glass of wine like once every half a year. I would say he lived pretty healthily. But he got bone cancer, and without insurance, it would have been crippling debt. And like, to my knowledge, nothing of his own fault. Like, I'm sure you could blame it on the food or something like that. But in situations like that, where it's something that's not necessarily your fault, I'm compassionate about. But the student debt, where you took on the acceptance that you were going to pay this loan back.
I don't know what happened to him, but he got booted. I don't know if that's on my end. If you guys want to hop back in, feel free to hop back in. Don't know what happened there. Sorry about that. Medical debt is the same as any other debt. Student loans shouldn't be forgiven. You took the classes, now pay it back. I think that student loan debt is also a big tool for the military. All right. Hey, what's going on?
Hi. So this is probably going to be probably an unpopular opinion, maybe one that you don't agree with. But in my opinion, I feel if somebody goes to school, gets a degree, and regardless whether they're actually using that degree for a job or anything like that, the government should actually pay for those people to learn what they need to do, because in all actuality, everything that stems from that is going to be repaid to the government in some form. And I think that, in my opinion, that actually also goes for things like health and, just cost of living, things like that. Because if you're feeding into the government, keeping the country going, regardless what job you have, they need to take care of you as much as you're taking care of them. It's just a give and take kind of relationship. I mean, I know it's probably unpopular, but I really think that, that's just the way that a good running society should work.
Okay.
So, yeah. And to your second point, what is it? Peacorn should be legal.
Well,
yeah, I agree.
it rhymes with why should it? Why should it be legal?
Because people do it anyways. The same thing as kind of like drugs. It's better to actually kind of regulate it and make it safe for the people who are involved in that, like the people who are in that industry. The same thing for SEX workers, it's a little bit more safety precautions than anything, but also in the same respect, like keeping with the whole notion of personal freedom and doing what you feel is necessary.
So you are a supporter of S-trafficking then?
No, because that's doing things against people's will.
Yeah,
and forcing them to do something.
Yeah,
right.
And that's
if somebody chooses to go into the XES industry, that's their own personal choice, and that
almost nobody chooses to. By the way, almost nobody chooses
yes,
to.
They do. Oh, yes,
well, if
they
you
do.
look at hang on,
yes, they do.
hang on. I don't think you heard me. I don't think you heard me. I said almost no one chooses to. Almost no one. That doesn't mean everyone.
Chooses to what? Wait. Chooses to be within the SEX industry, or
yes,
or human trafficked. Which one are you talking about?
In the industry and trafficking require each other. So no. Hang on. I don't think you. I don't. Once again. Hang on.
Go on.
The majority, like well over 70% of people that are involved in the industry are in there via S-trafficking. A lot of them were runaways. A lot of them are underage. A lot of them are addicts. A lot of them are homeless. The majority of them are doing it because they have no other choice, or as per the it's the National Health Institute, something like that. I was just reading it earlier. The definition of S trafficking is being tricked, deceived, forced, or misled to do something like that. And the majority of people that are in that industry, first off, they start off as young as 12 years old. That's the majority. They start off as 12 years old, the majority. This is a fact. The majority of them start off as 12. So most of them, as I stated, almost no one chooses to go in there. And people that choose to go in there have huge dysfunctional backgrounds. They have daddy issues. They had no mom. They had no family.
Okay. But you're forgetting like an entire group of people who choose to do that.
Which is so small. And the people, no, I am including them. And they're broken.
Wait. Hold on. Let me stop you there, okay?
They're broken.
If we're talking percentages, hold on. Most people alive are broken, first off, okay?
I don't agree with that.
Regardless what it is, regardless whether they go into the S industry or not, most people are broken in one way or another. They have experienced a lot of trauma, regardless whether it's sexual or whether it's emotional, verbal, physical. Most people have experienced trauma within their life, okay? That's just the way that things are right now because of the way society has progressed through itself, okay? Now, with the S industry, okay, a lot of people might have been forced into it, but the thing is you're disregarding the percentage of people, which in itself might be a small percentage. But if we're talking, because the population is so high right now, like around the world and things like that, a small percentage, even less than 1%, is a big chunk of people. You cannot say that it's not. All right. So you're disregarding and just completely devaluating those people who choose to be in that field. And the thing is, that field is absolutely necessary because if it was not something that people could do, no, don't, before you laugh.
I am laughing.
I've heard stories. Look, listen. Okay, you can laugh all you want, but the thing is, I have known stories of people who have actually used the S industry instead of committing S crimes. Okay.
And what was their home life like? How did they grow up? What was their childhood like?
You know what? I did not know this person. I've just heard stories. Okay. So there's a big difference between being.
You should ask them what their childhood was like.
I cannot ask them because I do not know this person personally.
Well, you should look into that and see.
Like I said.
You should look into that and see what the childhood life was like for the people that are in this industry.
Talk to somebody who's in the S industry. And the thing is, I've been in that industry.
Oh, so what was your childhood like?
You need to understand.
Was your dad in your life?
My childhood was actually, yes.
Awesome.
So was my mother.
Was he active?
All right, but the thing, yes.
Awesome. So your dad was there with you all 18 years?
18 years, yep, more even further than that.
Awesome.
I took care of him in his old age and all kinds of stuff. But the thing is, it's an.
And you were in the SA industry? Why'd you go into the SA industry?
No, not SA, not SA. I did not say sexual assault.
Whatever. Why were you in that industry?
No. There's a big difference.
Okay, but why were you in the industry?
Some kind of a pedo or
I'm not.
Men are super easily manipulated to give away their money. They need it. They want it.
Why were you in the industry?
It's easy for women to get. Because it's easy.
Easy what?
Because it's super easy. Easy money.
Oh, so you did it. So you showed your body for money? Do you not value your body?
Yes.
So.
Okay, and the thing is, I did not say, okay, well, I'm going to show you my tits for $50. I'm talking about like fucking $200-300
okay.
To do something. Okay.
So would you encourage your daughter to do it?
Hold on. Honestly, yes, because the thing is, that's what sells. Okay. That's what sells. And
oh my God.
And I did tell her, I did tell her today, look, if you're going to stream, all right, because she does things like that. And if you're going to stream, milk it. These idiots are going to be fucking idiots, so let them be idiots. And the thing is, if you don't want to be an idiot, don't pay into that stuff, okay? So don't be that kind of guy. But do not do not, on any fucking, like, kind of level, disrespect somebody who's either in that industry, regardless whether they're forced into it, because that's what they have to do, or someone who chooses into it because that's what they choose to do, or someone who is a patron of that industry because that's what they choose to do. You can't do that because it takes all kinds of people to keep this world, this crazy, insane world that we live in, running. And just because it goes against your personal opinion, that does not mean that it's wrong.
It is
All
wrong.
right? You're
Very
allowed
wrong.
you're
Do you have a
allowed to
husband?
your personal opinion.
Do you have a husband?
Fuck no.
Oh, okay.
Fuck no.
But I thought you had a good relationship with your
No,
dad,
no.
and you don't like men. You don't have a.
Yeah. No. That doesn't mean that I don't like men. I don't want to be married because I think that's a governmental institution that's been imposed on humans through social, just social influence. And I don't think it's necessary to have that piece of paper or the government approval or the tax exempt or whatever.
So do you have a boyfriend? Is your daughter's father in her life?
No, but he was an asshole. That's a totally different thing.
How'd you end
Okay,
up
but
with
he
an
was
asshole?
abusive.
How'd you end up with an asshole?
I was young. Things happen.
How'd you meet him?
At work.
Oh, okay, go figure.
Yeah, at work. But he just turned out to be pretty violent and abusive. And I let her be in his life as long as she wanted to. She chose to not be in his life. All right, that was like her decision and everything like that, and I just let her do what she wanted to do. But he wasn't in my life after 2 years after her being born. But we were together a total 6 years.
So do you think it's a good example for your daughter that you're in this industry, and if you still are?
I am not currently in the industry, but the thing is, if I needed to do what I needed to do, and I mean, I know it probably would make more money, and I think about it every now and then, but I have another avenue. I'm educated, and I'm working on different things right now. So that's not something that I want to go into, just because it's very time consuming, to be honest. That whole industry is very time consuming, and you sleep during the day and work during the night more than anything. So it's very draining on a human. So
how'd you end up in the industry?
I needed a job, and I started working at a titty bar, and then things just kind of progressed from that.
But why there, though? I mean,
kind of like,
but there's many other jobs. I'm just curious. Why there?
Yeah, it was easy. I had tried a lot of other jobs. The level of pay for my experience at the time was not equivalent to making enough money to help me survive. Because it was either being a waitress at a titty bar or being a waitress at a regular place, which is completely degrading. Honestly, it's way more degrading to be a waitress at a regular place than it is at a titty bar. At least at a titty bar, you're making enough money that you feel a little bit, I wouldn't say accomplished, but at least that you have some sort of backing with you to support yourself. All right, and it really takes a type of person to be able to be in that kind of environment. All right,
it does take a type of person.
It does, and those type of people exist, but you cannot degrade them for being alive. Just like we, who have that ability to do that type of work, do not want to degrade you who don't have that type of ability.
I mean, there's no way. It just sounds like you have no shame. So there's really like.
No, I do. And the thing is, I have really strong morals.
It doesn't sound like it.
Hold on. Oh, that's how you want. But they're my personal morals. I'm pretty sure you sound like your morals come from a book or somebody who explained to you what morals should be.
That's
and mine
hilarious.
come from my own personal being. All right. So there's a big difference. I'm actually more educated and more informed and more knowledgeable about life than you are. And I'm also older than you. So
You don't even know how old I am. You might be.
It doesn't matter.
And that's probably why you quit your job, because you got too old.
Sure I am.
You know, I mean, you can't. That's not a long career that you could have. You know, that's also the other. I mean, it's just very degrading of women.
You can assume so many things, but the thing is, that is not why I quit my job.
I mean, you know, it's just a very degrading field to be into. I'm sorry that you had to put yourself through that.
Excuse me.
You know, I wish that you could have had a. I wish you could have had, you know, better.
Driver and a delivery driver for UPS.
Cool.
Okay, so I had a good job. I've had multiple good jobs. I chose to do this because the money was better and it was easier for me to manipulate dickheads like you and other assholes. that go
You
into
never
these
catch me in a
places.
titty bar.
You know, well, that's freaking nice. That's good for you. But the other idiots that go into them, I mean, they're nothing but dollar signs to these women. Okay. So, and the thing is, like, you're just, like, men who go into these places who pay women for this kind of stuff, they're a dollar sign. That's all they are. There's no emotional attachment. There's nothing, anything besides that. And the thing is, it's nothing different than a businessman screwing over a colleague than it is, you know,
No.
a woman doing what she needs to do.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're hang on.
It's the same thing. Because honestly,
Hang on.
everybody
You just said,
themselves.
hang on. No, you just revealed your morality.
Another.
You just revealed your morality.
Oh, yeah?
You said, you said that it's the same thing.
That
You
business
said
is
that
as
same
shitty
thing.
as sexuality.
You
Oh,
said the same. You
Go
said
on.
that screwing over your business partner is the same thing as you going in there and manipulating these men, which means you have almost no moral compass.
I didn't say I was a stripper. I'm saying this is what
I
the
never
women
said
in
you
that
were a
industry
stripper.
Look at men like. And listen to what I'm saying. The women in this industry look at men as a dollar sign. Okay? So it's the same thing. It's money for you. It's greed. All
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Morality has
Exactly.
nothing to do with both industries.
Okay.
But yeah, people go and praise.
Okay.
You know, dicks like Donald Trump because he has the morality to make a good business,
No, he doesn't.
quote unquote, good business decision. Exactly.
Neither do you, though.
So the
I
thing
mean,
is,
what your industry is not moral at all.
No. It's not my industry. It is an industry, not my industry. Do not label it as belonging to a person
All right.
because it doesn't. All right.
All right.
All right. And the thing is, you have to admit this is the oldest industry in the books.
And it should
All
be
right? It's
abolished. It
always
should
gonna
be
be there.
illegal. It
But
should.
It's not, but it's not. I mean,
It should be.
It should be legal.
No.
And it's not going to be abolished. That's the thing.
It will
should
be.
legal, and it's never going to be abolished.
It will be.
You wish.
I guarantee you
wish,
in.
and a lot of people like you wish.
No, I guarantee you it will
It
be.
won't.
I guarantee it. It'll be
So,
illegal.
Let me ask you this question. All right, since that's your opinion on the S industry, what's your opinion on the LGBTQ alphabet mafia?
Not a fan.
Maybe illegal. Not a fan.
Nope.
Okay, that says a lot. That says a lot about your personality and
It
about
does.
your morals.
It says a lot about my
It really
character
does.
too.
It says a lot about your morals and character being constructed by a book and by other.
You don't
people
even
in
know where my
society.
morals come
Instead of
from.
You developing. I don't need to. You've already suggested.
No,
that, like,
no.
it's biblical.
You told me
You've
not to.
already
Hang on.
suggested that it was
You're being
biblical.
hypocritical right now. You told me not to assume anything
And that's
about
fine.
you.
I'm a human. Every fucking
See,
human is hypocritical,
exactly.
so deal with
Shameful. You have no shame. You have no shame. It's pointless to talk to anybody that doesn't have shame, especially when it comes to those kind of things. Hey, what's going on?
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
So that was absolutely a terrible little environment there for a minute. But anyway, I'm not going to even touch on the sex industry because I do think that there's some regulation that would definitely be needed if you wanted to make it more safe. But
just make it illegal.
It in most areas it is illegal.
No, I'm
currently.
talking all of it. I'm talking corn. I'm talking strip clubs. All of it.
Well, there's definitely damage towards children, and I can't argue with you there. I've worked in an industry that sees a lot of that, so I firsthand can say that. But there's definitely a need to regulate a little bit better and make sure that there are safety protocols far more than there currently are. But yeah, you're never going to abolish it. It's never going away. It's the oldest profession, period. And it's people are going to do what people are going to do.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you can't make it illegal, though. I mean, people are going to do heroin, aren't they? But it's illegal.
Well, depends on where you're at. Apparently, it's being decriminalized and less an offense in certain areas, and it's not helping. So, but nonetheless, I'm not here to talk about the S industry.
Yep.
Before I get banned here. I'm here for your first topic. Why shouldn't we cancel student debt?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about economics. So what do you do for a living, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm a business owner. I own a commercial cleaning company.
Okay,
come to you, and this is from your given scenario about 10 minutes ago, and I say, hey, I want you to enter into an agreement with me to clean my offices. I've got 700 of them throughout whatever state you're in, okay? I agree to pay you a certain amount for said service. You perform said service, but every 7 years I can say, nope, too bad, I don't have to pay you.
That's not the same thing. That's a false equivalence.
That would be cancellation of debt.
No, no. We weren't talking about debt at all. You just said paying me for my work. So we're talking about a monetary cash flow.
I would owe you money for the services that you've rendered.
Yeah, well, that's not what I'm defending at all.
So what I'm saying is I'm making that a simple equation here
And it's a false one.
These financial companies, if I go to them and I say, hey, I'm the big government, and I say, you can lend out this money to these kids that are going to college, but in 7 years, they don't have to pay you back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would they still lend out money?
Yes, but they'd be very, very selective. They would.
They would
Fact.
not lend out any more money.
They would.
Go into a different business altogether.
No, they wouldn't. This is wrong because we already know that debt forgiveness exists and money is still lent out. The IMF does debt forgiveness. Bill Clinton did debt forgiveness, billions, I think it was millions or billions of dollars for foreign aid. We still give out debt. What else? In if we go back to antiquity in Israel, the Jubilee, every 7 years,
We are not talking about Israel. We're talking about
No. You have to listen to what I'm saying. I'm telling you the historical precedent. All right.
I do understand.
And so, but
that
hang on.
that is
And then
historical.
also you go over to Muslim countries where Sharia law is implemented. They do not allow usury. Usury is illegal. All right.
Okay,
So that
I've
means
been there.
usury means that you can't charge interest rates, essentially.
Okay.
So people still are able to borrow money.
But that's not a cancellation of debt.
Yes,
we're
but what I'm
referring
saying,
to here-
so what I'm
we're
saying
in
is
the United
though,
States, where cancellation of debt means that someone's still going to have to pay for it.
yes,
Meaning
so
it's coming out of us.
So the cancellation of debt would not stop money lending. The reason it
Okay.
would not stop money lending is because it would just dampen it.
Because it still
It would
gets paid
damper
by
it.
the taxpayers.
Well, no, it would dampen it. And it doesn't have to necessarily be paid by the taxpayers. It could be paid, in this particular case, it could be paid by the universities. It could be paid through their endowments, which they're gouging students for. It could be paid through other means as well. I mean, businesses could help out with that as well to do recruiting programs, whatever. But my point is that if you do debt forgiveness, it doesn't mean that debt won't be given out. It means that it'll be harder to get because in order to qualify, there's a qualifier, by the way, to get the 7-year forgiveness. Are you going to actually make an attempt to pay it off in 7 years? Do you have the means, if possible, to pay off the debt in 7 years? And if for whatever reason you fail to accomplish that, but you have proven track records of paying towards that debt and actively paying it down for 7 years, you then are no longer crippled by the debt because you have actually tried your best. You should not be burdened for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years
Agreed.
for debt.
Okay, so hear me out, and I've heard your piece, and I actually have enjoyed this conversation so far. Hear me out. So instead of us allowing for the cancellation of these student loans and $10,000 per student as a blanket that Joe Biden said, which he cannot do, by the way, it has to go through a congressional hearing. That being said, why not regulate these lending companies that are giving out student debts to make them non-predatory, similar to what the military did with, basically payday loans.
Mhm.
Basically make them more affordable, basically tie their hands to where they're not a predatory lending to give these guys a chance to actually pay for their college like they allegedly agree from the get-go to do.
I have no issue with that whatsoever. I think that usury should be outlawed in the United States. There should be no interest on any loans ever given out. However, that does not solve the massive problem we have, which is crippling student debt for most of the younger population. They will never be able to pay off their debts. And they were, by and large, tricked by the whole of society up until recently to go to college.
I would say that they were tricked by these loan companies
And their
However,
parents. And their
we should
grandparents.
but we should not be handing out a $300 or $300 billion blank check to these companies simply because people can't pay their student loans. Do I think that there should be some adjustments? Absolutely, but why should that come out of the taxpayers' money? Now,
Well, I will
I
say
also-
this, that really quick.
Yeah.
The government is the biggest provider of loans. So the government would essentially be paying itself off. By and large, most of the loans come from the government. A lot of your tax dollars go towards paying for kids to go to school to get a gender studies degree.
oh, I absolutely, and trust me, I know. That being said, I think that money could be going to more beneficial causes, such as getting homeless people off the streets, helping veterans, helping raising the teacher salaries throughout the country, providing better school security.
But that doesn't
other
address
than
the
giving it
debt.
to-
That doesn't address the debt. And
that
the other,
is all right. So
I mean, the
if
biggest
you
issue,
buy-
really quick, the biggest issue here is people are buried in debt. And the reason they're buried in debt is because we have a debt-based economy. Do you
Right.
know that the only way money is printed, 97% of money can only be printed through loans? You have to put debt in the economy in order to make any money.
Okay, so why cancel debt?
Well, because then, that's a great question. The reason you would cancel debt is because you would stop inflation. Because then you can't, it'll be like a natural quantitative tightening. To cancel debt, it would be a form of quantitative tightening,
Okay.
which then means your dollar becomes more valuable.
Well, truthfully, I honestly don't 100% disagree with you, but I do think that there's far more reasonable causes other than giving it to people that choose not to pay their loans. That being said, you go out and you buy a brand new, 2022 F450 jacked up, lifted, and you decide you're not going to pay for it anymore because that's what you wanted to do. There are repercussions to that. I honestly believe that there need to be repercussions. Now, can we mitigate some of the costs, some of the interest, some of the predatory behaviors of these companies? For sure. But, at the same time, we shouldn't be paying for your F450 because you decided you wanted it and then you couldn't pay for it.
But the issue is that you can file bankruptcy on your F-150. You can file bankruptcy on your house.
And they can repossess it.
Yeah, but the point is that you still have the opportunity to get out of that crippling debt if you're in financial, destitute.
But you lose what you lose.
It doesn't matter, but you no longer have that debt burdened over you. So while you can lose something, that debt has gone away.
Okay. So
But with
maybe we
student
should look
loans, you cannot file bankruptcy on them. It's illegal.
Okay.
It's against the law.
Okay. I mean, honestly, I've never seen the law that says that you can't file bankruptcy on that. So I can't speak on that. I honestly don't know. But what I'm getting at is, why should I have to pay for your F450 as a taxpayer? Why does my tax money need to go towards your F450 when you agreed to pay for it in the first place?
Yeah, well, I think that society would be a much better place if people were not encouraged to get into debt, and people also were forgiving their debtors. I think it would be much better. I think that
I don't disagree, but that's not how our society is set up.
I know, and so I know, but we're heading towards that. We can change that, and student loan forgiveness is a step in the right direction.
Okay, so instead of doing that, why not take away those predatory behaviors, start
I
different
agree.
Education programs that are...
We should make it illegal for predatory lenders. But initially, I believe that the way that you can start this, the easiest way, politically and economically, is to forgive the student debt. And then you can work on other issues.
So we just give that money to them. That's fine.
I have no issue with that. I think that's the moral
Give
thing
them
to
the
do, and I think that it would economically help the society.
So tell me this: do you have kids?
I do. I have 3.
Okay. Do you have a savings set up for them for their college?
They're not going to college, no.
Okay, but if they chose to go to college, would you pay for their college?
Probably not. Because I don't.
So
They're not.
you're
They're
just
not going to
gonna
go to
let them
college.
let them get a predatory loan.
No, well, they're not going to go to college.
Okay. What I'm getting at is if you had that money and your kids were going to go to college and it was set aside for them, would you be willing to give it to your neighbor down the street who's already been to college and just didn't pay theirs?
It is my obligation as a Christian, if I have extra resources and I can help my fellow neighbor, yes.
Okay.
If I have
that
the
same
extra
person-
resources, if it's not going to put my family out in the street. If I am a millionaire, I have tons of excess cash. My neighbor, their kids, and crippling student, or maybe my friend who isn't as wealthy off as me, because they're obviously not going to be in unpayable debt if they're my neighbor and I'm some millionaire, right? So if it's somebody that I know that's my neighbor and I'm some millionaire in this scenario, and they make $30,000 a year, but they have $50,000 in debt, yeah, it would be my moral obligation to help them, especially if they're doing the right thing, especially if they're going to work every day, especially if they're paying towards it. They have a family, they're raising them, they're taking care of them, and then they just have this crippling debt over their head. It would be my obligation.
All right, so tell me this. Is it your business to tell me what I do with my money to give to your kids to go to college?
No.
Okay. So what you're doing by saying that student debt should be forgiven is doing that exactly. You're saying,
Well,
that
your
I
money is
give my
already
money-
being given to the government, and it's not going to come out of your paycheck any more than it already is. Literally, your taxes aren't going to go up for it.
That will absolutely cause inflation.
It won't, actually. I just explained to you that's false. The reason it will not cause inflation is because we have a debt-based economy. When you cancel debt in a debt-based economy, you then naturally restrict the money supply. And if you restrict the money supply, the opposite of inflation happens because you're
But
contracting.
But that money's not being restricted. It's being given to corporate companies.
No, it is being retracted. It is being erased,
retracted?
meaning that you cannot print
There
more
is no
money.
You cannot erase money. It has to be paid in some form or fashion.
Actually, I mean, really, you can, though. I mean, all money is digital. Most of it is all
right,
digital.
Tell you what, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and send me about 5,000, and I will erase that debt.
Well, of course, I'm not going to do that. And that's not an equivalent scenario.
That's exactly what's going on here.
No, it's not, actually. It's not. Because you're not in
You
debt.
can't just erase the money. Those companies have already given the money out, which means that
Well,
money
once
has to
again-
come back to them.
Once again, that money probably came from the government.
But not all companies that give out student loans are the government.
I know, but the majority are. So more
Okay,
than
so
likely,
they may be backed by FAFSA, but they are independent companies.
and even so, I mean, it's going to hurt them too. I mean, it'll hurt the predatory lenders, which we
So
agree they should be regulated.
So what you're suggesting is that these people shouldn't have any say, or they shouldn't have any obligation to pay back these loans that they agreed to.
That's not what I'm saying. No, that's never been my argument, ever once.
So if they give a good old college try, then they should not have to pay for it.
At a certain point, yes. There should be debt forgiveness. I believe in debt forgiveness for every debt, all debts.
Why not look at a possible logical option that does not require our tax money to go to something like this? Why not take away those predatory actions, invest in trade schools?
Well, because trade schools get into immense debt too.
They don't.
They do, actually. I went to trade school. I got in
Okay.
like $20,000 of debt.
For what school, if you don't mind me asking?
Ohio Technical College.
I mean, what was the program there?
Diesel. That's what I went for. Diesel, and then I got my
Diesel,
associate's degree in applied science.
Okay, so in a year, the average diesel mechanic makes how much?
Starting off, it's like $18 an hour. So I don't know if you really do the math. It's like over 30,000.
Yeah,
But
let's-
you
let's
can't
call
pay it
an
off. Yeah, but you're not. It's going to take you years to pay it off because you have to factor in the fact that you have living expenses. You have to pay other bills. You can't just save up all your money and then pay it off. You can't do that.
Within 10 years, hypothetically, if the tax rates or the interest rates were lessened,
There's a good
And
possibility.
you would-
Yes, there's a good possibility you could.
$400,000 over 10 years, you
Yeah.
can't pay back 20,000.
You probably could, but we're also talking about something extremely different.
Which is mainstream college, which is not a necessity. We have many jobs available that do not require a degree.
I agree.
We have trade schools that are available that do not even have enough people to fill the seats most of the time for less than $5,000 per student per class. And we're trying to give out $10,000 to these people that went for gender study schools
Not all of them.
or whatever it may be because they gave a good college try and couldn't pay it back in 10 years.
I think that anybody that has a mortgage that they've been trying for, say, 10 years to pay it off should be debt forgiven. I think anybody that has a car loan
So
should
you
have
think
debt
that
forgiveness.
that bank's just going to give away the house?
Well, no, this is why I made my argument in the beginning. You're going to be much more selective who you give the money to.
So most home loans are 20 to 30 years.
I know.
So after 10 years, if you've paid that same mortgage or the same mortgage payment, you've barely broken into the principal of the actual loan because the interest rates are typically 3 to 5%. So we're really just breaking into the actual cost of the home. That bank can't just be out of that money for the house. Again, we will run into a housing market crisis. We'll run into inflation in the housing costs.
No, you won't.
Because
You'll
the
run
banks
into the
aren't- banks
opposite.
aren't
I don't know
making
what's
the
so
money.
hard to understand. We do not.
If that
You,
bank-
you are restricting money supply. If your money is backed by debt, you need more debt in order to cause inflation.
But
Money
you
is
can't cancel
expanded. Money
You
is
can't cancel
expanded
that
through
for
debt.
individuals. You
Money,
cannot cancel the debt
but
for
you can
individuals.
cancel the debt for corporations.
And that corporation is out that money, which means that they're going to have to charge more to recoup more.
Not necessarily.
which is
No.
Inflation. Yes. That's how it works.
No. So it will cause deflation because your money will be more valuable.
So you're telling me if today I sell you a truck for $40,000, but you tell me in 5 years, if you haven't paid it off, that I don't get anything.
You do. You got those
I'm
5
gonna
years of
charge
payment.
I'm going to charge you enough monthly payments in that 5 year period to make more than that 40,000, knowing that I'm not going to get my money back later.
Or you are just extremely selective with who you lend money to.
Okay, so we're basically saying that less people need to go to college, right?
Basically, what I'm saying is we need to get rid of the debt-based economy.
You can't do that without starting over and having a full-on
Exactly.
revolution.
No, you can without a revolution, but you do need to start over. And the way that you start over is by canceling all the fucking debt.
So do we cancel our debt with China?
Well, I don't know that we're really in debt with China. I mean, China owns U.S. bonds. So,
China is one of our biggest lenders.
well, they want the United States dollar, okay? I mean, most countries want the U.S. dollar.
So do the banks, so do these corporate companies. so
Yes,
do
and the reason they want it is because we make it through debt. We're the global reserve, and we make money through debt. So you get into debt with us. We give you debts, we give you loans, we give you plenty of loans, we print more money. This economy is all your. So what you're doing essentially is you are defending this economy, which is propped up through debt, which is going to collapse, which will fuck my grandchildren, your grandchildren, if you have children, and God willing, if you do, you have grandchildren. God willing, if I do, I have grandchildren. The debt-based economy is going to collapse. And so rather than say, let's try to keep it up, keep everything up, keep all the debt being paid, why not start small, work towards a change in the economy by getting out of a debt-based economy, by stop incentivizing debt. And the way that you can stop incentivizing debt is allowing people the breathing room to save money.
So tell me this: why don't we stop the immediate issues at hand? Let's say we stop sending money to Ukraine.
I agree.
We just sent 400, like I think it was 400 billion to the Afghan government, which by the way is the Taliban now.
Which I think is fine. There's nothing wrong with the Taliban taking over Afghanistan. It's their country. It's not our country. Let them decide who their rulers are.
But why do we need to send them money?
We don't. I agree. This would be, in my ideal world, this is how it would work. My ideal world, cut off all safety nets, cut off all foreign aid, pay off all student debts, and pay off all debts in total. That's how.
Tell me this: why are you advocating so much for these student debts?
Because it's a good starting place, man. And they're predatory. It's disgusting. Kids were brainwashed into going into school. And they're being incentivized to it. It also helps the military-industrial complex. How does it help the military-industrial complex? Well, guess what? More people are going to go into the military to get quote-unquote free college, because then they don't have to get into debt. But then they have to join the military, which is backed by the bankers as well, which they're not fighting for the United States. They're not fighting for the Constitution in Afghanistan. They're not fighting for the Constitution in the Middle East.
I agree 100%.
But yet they're incentivizing people to go into the military through that. There's so many pressure points into getting people into college. And now so many jobs are requiring, I'm not sure if you've looked for a job lately. I've done a little bit of job searching. Just because I need some additional income. And there's a lot of places where you must have a bachelor's degree to even get hired. And it's ridiculous. And the bachelor degree isn't even really needed in those positions. So a lot of these companies are promoting it. In order for you to get a good paying job, a lot of times, especially as a young person, you must have a degree. And that degree is going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably. And it's going to charge a lot of interest. They're predatory. It's evil. It's evil. It's disgusting. It shouldn't be allowed. I think that the colleges have been corrupted because the universities have been using your tax dollar and my tax dollar to fund people to go to school. So the universities jacked up the prices because the government partnered with the university to pump up the prices, because then they can just charge whatever they want. And so the universities now have these large endowments through their wealthy donors, and then they're just still raking in cash from students with student loan. It's a racket, man. It's disgusting. I refuse to defend the debt-based system. I think that all debt should be eradicated. I think that all safety nets should be eradicated. I think all foreign aid should be stopped, and we should really focus on our country. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm back on live. Wait 1 second. Let me connect my camera. Okay. Wait, what happened? Hold on. Writing quick save. Okay, so I really don't think that one dime of U.S. taxpayer dollars should go to private universities.
Yeah, I agree.
Why on earth? So then why do you think that we should be canceling these student debts?
Because they're predatory and they're disgusting.
But most of the debt that is owed is how do you say it? Like, the people that are holding the debt are like the top percent of the wealth in this country. So why are we going to pay for rich kids to go to school? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
I'd say that debt forgiveness for everybody.
But the majority of people who owe college debt are the top percentage of wealth in this country. So we're just paying for rich kids to go to school. And that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I mean, if they are wealthy enough, they wouldn't be really in debt, would they?
That's not true at all.
Why are they getting into debt if they're wealthy? What's the benefit? So
what do you mean?
Yeah, why do they get into debt?
Buy like $2 or $3 million houses, just pay all cash. That's not the majority of people.
I know, but we're talking about two different things. I know you're talking about the small minority of people who are extremely wealthy, and they're going to college.
I'm not talking about the extremely wealthy. I'm talking about the wealthy. not the extreme, not the 1%.
So what? The 5%,
Not
the
the
10? It doesn't matter.
billionaires.
You're talking about the wealthy.
The top 25%. Those people all got money, and we're paying for them to go to school. That just doesn't make any sense.
Hang
to
on.
me.
So they have loads of money, but they have student debt.
I don't know if you know how things like this work, but most people, they don't just pay cash outright. They take out loans.
Yeah, and that's what I want to stop. I'm against loans. I'm against debt in most cases.
Okay, but that's great. But did you hear what I said? And did you understand that point?
Yeah,
again,
yeah, you
what you're-
condescending asshole, dude. I get you.
No, but before you were just saying the exact opposite. So the truth is that the
No,
majority
that's
of
not
the
what I.
debt
No,
that's
no, no,
owed-
no, no. I wasn't saying the exact opposite. I was questioning what you're saying because I haven't heard that before. So you're telling me that some of the most wealthy people in the world, I get it, not the 1%, but if you're in the top 20% of wealth in America, you're one of the most wealthiest people in the world. All right.
Sure.
So those people have the most college debt.
Again, hold on.
Those people have the most college
I'm
debt.
talking about Americans.
I
I'm
am
not talking
too.
about the
I am
world.
too. Those people have the most college debt.
Yes, because people who are not that well off, they realize that they're not going to go in and make a dumb decision to pay university $70,000 a year. That just doesn't make any sense. They'd rather go to a public
Where does this
university,
come
which is
from?
way less.
I've never heard of this. I've never heard of the wealthiest
I
people.
just read about it today and on NPR.
Okay, very trusted source. I mean, you may be right. I've never heard of that. I'm trying to find it right now. I mean, who?
In a world, again, in a world, for all intents and purposes, in a world where this is true, would you change your mind?
No, I do think that student debt should be forgiven for everybody.
Oh, okay. So you think that the poor people, right? Do you think that who do you think is paying taxes in this country?
Well, I mean, a lot of people pay taxes. So, I mean, everybody in some way, shape, or form pays a tax because you can't avoid it. When you purchase something, you're buying sales tax. So everybody pays taxes. And arguably, since sales taxes is a huge portion of taxes, I would say a lot of the wealthier people pay a lot of taxes because their purchases are a lot. Like, let's say they have $1 million purchase and their sales tax is like 10%. Well, they just paid $100,000 for one purchase, and that may be way less than you make in a year and way less than you'll ever pay that you'll pay in taxes in a year or two. So now we can argue income tax, we can argue that, but as far as taxes go, it's very complicated because there's many different kinds of taxes.
So you believe that maybe someone from a lower income who is paying taxes and they didn't have the means to go to college should be paying for rich kids to go to college?
Well, you do know that like FAFSA. I mean, I don't think that this is a really genuine argument because FAFSA. I mean, that's what it's for. And community college, I went to community college as well, which a lot of poor people go there. There's a lot of other universities where people don't have wealthy parents and they go there as well. So I'm really like, what's the percentage? Like, what's the percentage of the wealthy people that own all this debt?
Well, so let me ask you, you went to community college, so how much money in debt did you get into?
None.
Because it's a community. Exactly. So that's my whole point.
But there are people that
These people
file
make the
for
right
loans. And then they
Sure,
have to
there's
pay for
people,
loans.
But in a situation of community college, you're not taking out hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans.
But even in
When you
universities.
take out a loan, you pay it back.
But even in universities, there are people from I know so many people that are not wealthy that went to college, went to
You
universities.
know so many people that don't. Yes, absolutely.
So I'm just not understanding like your argument here. You're saying that because the wealthiest of the wealthy are getting most of the debt in college, we shouldn't be paying off the debt in college for the majority of people who are going to college.
Why should we pay off the debts of people who made a decision to take out these debts and go to these country club universities? That's
Because
wrong.
the loans are
These
predatory.
People, you ever go to I don't know what state you live in, But you ever go and drive around these universities and see what cars these college kids are driving? They're
Yeah,
driving
so
expensive
I'm
cars
trying to figure out
that
where,
could
like,
pay for 4 or 5.
okay, yeah, so they have money. Okay.
Yes.
I have no issue with
So
people
why
having
should we
money.
be paying them for them? So why? Me neither. I have an issue with paying for their loans.
I'm not. I've been trying to find this, and you could be right, but I'm not able to find where you're saying this is true. From my personal experience, a lot of the people I know who went to university, and the people that I ended up going to university with when I went there, a lot of them didn't come from rich backgrounds. I mean, the majority of them. Maybe they were middle class. Maybe they were upper middle class.
And how much in debt did they get into?
Pretty much everybody I knew was taking out student loans.
Right, but like again, like
I don't know. It's none of my business to know. But the average student loan debt is like, I don't know. Let's look it up.
Yeah. So again, whatever number shows up, these numbers are always to deceive you. So
And you don't think that the information that you read is to deceive you?
In my state, I honestly don't think that NPR is trying to make Biden look bad. I'm just saying. But in my state, the average student loan debt is $35,000.
Yeah. So the Department of Education.
So to you, you would probably think, wow, that's a lot of money. That would mean that so many students, a student like myself, the average would be $35,000. But that's not the truth, because I never took out student loans. So that's for people who take out loans. Does that make sense? That's not for every student.
Uh-huh.
They make it out to seem like all students, the average for all students, the debt that is owed is $35,000. And that's not what the study is saying. The study is saying that the students who do take out the loans, their debt is average of $35,000, which is a small minority of students.
Yeah, it's the average. So that means that there's.
It's not the average of students. It's the average of students who take out loans.
Well, to be exact, it's the average.
Right?
It's the average federal student loan borrower. They own $35,889.
Right.
Which means that there's a lot of people.
Because I never borrowed any money.
Which means that there's a lot of people that have way more debt than that, and there's a few people who have way less debt than that.
No, do you know how an average works?
Yes, which means that there has to be a lot more people that owe $50,000, $60,000, $70,000.
So
There has to be a lot of people that own less than that too.
Yeah, but you just said a little bit that own less. An average is equal. Does that make sense?
I know what an average is, dude.
Okay, well, you didn't seem to know 5 seconds ago. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
An average meets in the middle. And so my point again is, we have somewhat agreeing opinions. Students were deceived. Students were, as you said, I think, brainwashed into believing that they have to go to a university that costs $70,000 or $80,000 to attend to be successful, and that's just not true. There are many universities that cost significantly less than that, and you can be very successful in the future. But just because you made a horrible decision, like some people make bad decisions and they buy expensive cars that they can't afford or expensive boats they can't afford, doesn't mean that the government should come knocking at your door and paying for your debt. I just don't think that's how it should work.
Okay. I mean, I disagree. I think it is the right thing to do. I think that it would help the economy.
How is it the right thing to do?
Yeah. So the reason I think it's the right thing to do is anybody that's in crippling debt and it's hurting them, I think that if they are making an attempt to pay off the debt and they can't after X amount of time, they should receive debt forgiveness.
That just doesn't make any sense.
It does, especially in a debt-based economy. So basically, so we have to look at the economy, in my opinion. Hang on. Okay, I don't know how true that is. Yeah, well. Gotcha. Interesting. Anyway, so where I was getting at is we have a debt-based economy. I've been making this argument all night. And I think it's the best argument I've heard so far. And it's not really originally my argument. I actually started putting it together, but the premise of it, the conclusion rather, I got from somebody else, and I've been working on the premises myself because I haven't heard their premises. And so, from my understanding, a debt-based economy means that in order to print more money, you need more debt. So inflation happens when there's more debt in the economy. So if you are going to pay off debts in the economy, you will then restrict the money supply. You can't have as much money in circulation because there's less debt. If there's less debt, you can't print money. Therefore, it will be deflation. Now, is deflation bad? It can be bad, yes, but it's mostly bad for the lenders. And so, if the debt-based economy is incentivizing everybody to get into crippling debt because everybody has a mortgage, student loans, car loans, credit card loans, etc., well, then you will disincentivize lending through debt forgiveness because your money will become stronger over time because you won't be able to print as much money.
Okay, so you don't think that people should lend money at all?
I think that it should be very rare, and I don't think that there should be interest attached to it at all.
How would anyone buy a house?
Yeah, so once again, if you're in a deflationary environment, that means the prices of things would go down and your money would become stronger. So it'd be the opposite of inflation. So obviously everybody knows how inflation works. Inflation, money supply increases, and then typically people will spend more money, which the spending of money is what drives prices up because there's more money in circulation, which is what drives the housing prices up. Because there's more money in circulation, more money is printed, more money is spent. But then if less money is printed, less money is spent, prices of things would go down.
So, okay, I don't know where you live, but do you know what the average cost of a home where you live is?
Roughly.
Like, what is it? Like,
I don't know, somewhere around 250, 300,000.
okay, so where I live, houses cost upwards of like $1 million. So if inflation, if our money was deflated, right? Is that how you would say it? Yes. If it went down, even by 50%, I don't think that most people have $500,000 just laying around in their suitcase.
I'm with you.
You know? So how on earth would they still even afford the home?
So you do realize that this is not going to be an overnight solution. And this is going to cause a lot of economic turmoil. We're already in for an economic shit show.
It's not even a plausible solution to begin with to end all loans. Listen,
I would say...
I think I understand where you're coming from, where people aren't educated enough to take out the loans and whatever. But the truth is, maybe instead of just somehow having a fantasy that we cancel all loans in the future, how about we just educate people when and when not to take a loan? Students should not be taking out loans.
I don't think that there should be interest on loans. I don't think anybody should be making money on loans.
So
I don't think
why would anyone loan? Why would anyone loan money?
There's lenders in Sharia law. And Sharia law bans usury, bans any interest.
Wait, Sharia law? What about Sharia law?
So they ban usury, which is the interest on debt. But people still get money to borrow, but it's just very selective.
Wait, like Sharia law, the thing that keeps like women like...
It's also a financial law. It's also a financial law, so we don't need to focus on the cultural part. But the financial aspect, there are people that borrow money, but with no interest.
Okay, so let me ask you. If I wanted to borrow $100,000 from you, you would just say, oh, yes, out of the kindness of your heart, let me borrow it without paying you back an extra dime?
Yes.
Why?
Why would I want to make money off of it? I think that's immoral. It goes against my moral belief.
How is that immoral?
Well, because you're profiting off of somebody's debt, and I think that that's the wrong thing to do. It's a weapon of war.
I think that what you're saying sounds fine, but the truth is that you probably wouldn't do that. Yeah,
I would actually. I've given plenty of people plenty of money and haven't expected any money back in return. And if they said that they were borrowing from me and then they never borrowed money back from me, I don't go and befriend them. I don't any of that shit.
Right. Okay. So I think that at the end of the day, in real life, people don't do that.
They do, actually. I just told you,
To make money.
Sharia law. There's a ton of countries with Sharia law that offer lending.
There's a lot, there's a lot of other things that they got going on there.
Yeah, okay. And I'm actually in favor of a lot of Sharia law.
Even the women not being able to drive part,
Yeah.
you're in favor of that?
Yeah, I would not be against it, no.
Why?
I just feel that, well, first off, very interesting. There was a study done in the University of Michigan some years ago, and they found that 65% of total accidents, and this included minor fender benders, etc., 65% of them were caused by women. Now, major accidents, right, deaths and stuff, obviously are caused by men, which is why insurance rates are higher. But women are, causing more danger on the road overall. And also, they
because they're causing danger on the road, you don't think that they should be able to get a license?
No, I think that in an ideal world, all the men would drive.
What if a woman didn't have a man?
Well, in that world, she would.
She should just walk.
Well, no, in that world, she would. It wouldn't be like today. In that world, she would. She would have somebody.
Interesting. Okay. And so I guess you don't believe in dogs either? You don't think that people should own dogs?
I have no issue with people owning dogs.
Okay.
I have an issue with people treating their dogs like a kid. I think that that's wrong.
I agree. And dog Instagram accounts should be banned.
We agree on that.
Well, yeah, so, in normal real world, in real life, no one's handing out $100,000.
They are.
Like $2 million, $4 million, $5 million just to get nothing back in return because there's no point in giving the money out.
Yeah, it is. Why wouldn't it be?
Why would I give someone $5 million?
Well, let's say they're going to build a business with that $5 million, because you're talking about $5 million. So they're going to build some building, some business, something.
Right. Or buy a house.
And if they buy a house,
Or a yacht.
cool, fine. All right. But I'm guessing if you're going to lend out $5 million, you're probably not going to lend out $5 million to somebody who is going to buy a yacht. You're probably going to be like, is that really going to help? Probably not. Maybe it'll help the yacht manufacturer.
$5 million for?
Maybe it'll help the yacht manufacturer, right? But anyway, let's say it's probably going towards a business, going towards some, maybe an investment plan, right? Well, that $5 million that you borrowed, if it went into a business, is going to be active in the community. And so you could work out a deal where maybe you can own a piece of the company because you lent him $5 million, but he's not paying you interest. So there's certain things that you can do around that to still get the money.
Do you know someone that has $5 million?
No. Hang on. Maybe.
I know someone that has $5 million. And if I asked them to borrow $5 million, they would say no.
Okay.
And they'd laugh at me.
Okay.
It doesn't matter who asked them. Without zero interest or anything like that, they would just flat out be like, are you joking?
I know.
That's not realistic
We're
at
speaking
all.
different languages here, though, because you are pro-usury. I'm anti-usury. I think that there's a lot of people in the world that are also anti-usury. I think most people would
What's
be.
a lot of people? What's a lot of people?
I couldn't give you an exact number. I'm sure you couldn't give me. I mean, okay, since you want to go down this little route, could you tell me all the people in the world who want interest in their debt?
So, who want interest in their debt? No. I can tell you exactly how many people want loans to be available to them, and I think
No. We're focusing on because my point is I'm anti-usury, you're pro-usury, and then you're trying to get really technical here and saying, well, how many people are a lot of people that don't like usury? Well, then how many people are a lot of people who do like usury? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Is it 100,000? Is it 50 million?
there's a lot of people that don't like paying taxes.
I know, but no, but the only reason I'm doing this to
People
you.
don't like to do.
Okay, fine. So we both can't give an exact answer. So we both can't give an exact answer on what the total amount of people who are pro and anti-usury. But we can probably reasonably say there's a lot of people who are for it. There's a lot of people who are against it.
I think there's a lot of people who are miseducated and they took out loans and
I agree.
expensive universities, and those are the people that are uneducated, and they're probably in the same boat as you with the believing in the debt or whatever it is. Those people probably agree with you because they're just not well educated to take out a debt for hundreds of thousands of dollars just to get a degree that going to go on their wall.
Yeah, so I do agree with you that there's a lot of financial illiteracy. That's a huge issue in our country. I 100% agree. We can argue whether that's intentional or not. I would tend to say that it is intentional. And I would argue that it's intentional to the benefits of the lenders. And now that's changing. A lot of people are becoming informed. And
Absolutely. I think that, no, nothing changed. Nothing changed.
No. Okay, so let me... Hang on. This is what I mean by change, all right? What I mean by change is that a lot of people are waking up to the monetary system, and a lot of people are having different feelings towards the monetary system. Some people are saying free everything because it's fucked up, and a lot of people are saying, no, you can't do that because that's not how the economy works. And so we have this heated debate because a lot of people are waking up to the monetary corruption. A lot of people are becoming more financially literate. That's what I'm saying changed.
You think that people are becoming more financially literate?
Yes.
That's why they canceled $10,000 in student loans?
No.
Okay. Because I think that the reason why they're canceling this is because people are idiots and they're not financially literate at all.
I think that, yeah, I tend to think that usury is a weapon of war to oppress a people. And so
getting loans, I don't know, but everyone you know probably has taken a loan out at some point.
Yeah, and in the ideal society,
$5 from their parents or $500,000 from the banks.
Well, that's not a fair analogy either, because most people who get a loan from their parents of $5, it's not really a loan. They're giving you the $5, right? But then you're talking about a loan.
Pay it back? No. See, because there's a difference definitions and words, right? So
yes.
If my parents give me $5,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. All right. And I'm telling you that most people here can 100% agree that there have been times where, like, mom, dad, maybe not everybody here, I don't know. Mom, dad, can I borrow $10? And they know who gives a shit if you pay them back the $10?
My parents would. And I think
then you're an exception, because I know most people who would use that language, and even if they do pay back their parents, and who gives a fuck about that argument? So my whole point was,
abuse of English. That's an abuse of English. And
fair enough. Fair enough.
If I ask my friend, "Oh, can I borrow $100?" They're gonna expect me to pay it back. Now, if I ask them, "Hey, I really need $100. Can you please give it to me?" Then there's a different conversation.
Yes,
there,
I
right?
agree with you. Words do matter.
You're lying.
Words do matter. Yes, 100%. I'm sorry?
Well, you were talking about being good or something like that earlier. So is lying bad?
It is.
So then if you ask someone to borrow and you never gave it back to them, that would be bad, right?
Yeah, so it depends on how the No, it's not. No, it's not. No, I like what you did there, though. No, hang on. I'll give you, like, that was good, but that's not my point. Because borrowing, because my big gripe is this: interest. If you're just borrowing $5 and you're going to pay back the $5, your parents aren't going to be like, "Give me $5.05," right?
Unless they said that to begin with.
But they're probably not.
And if they asked me, if they said that to begin with, and they told me, "Hey, I want to borrow $5," and they said, "Yes, that's fine, but I want $5.05 back," and I didn't give them the $5.05 back, then that would be me lying.
Yes, I agree.
I told them, and I agreed to them, and that would be a breach of contract.
Yeah, well, I think that there should be. I totally get where you're coming from, and I know this argument very well, and I get why people like this argument. But I personally think, from my worldview, usury is a weapon of war, and the student loan debts that have been given out have been a weapon of war on the United States citizens to basically financially enslave them to a debt system and then perpetuate the inflation, because the way it's like you need the debt in order to make more inflation. So if prices are going up because they're incentivizing debts, dude, prices go up on everything because they're saying more debt, more debt, more debt, more debt. Then we can print more money and more money and more money. And if we can print more money and get more debt, then we can grow the economy. That's the idea, but it's a house of cards.
So I think that the majority of people who didn't take out debt, like myself, are probably thinking the same thing that I thought this morning when I was reading about this. So I'm still going to university, and I can still take out federal loans if I choose. Now, do I need to? Absolutely not. But why shouldn't I now go out and take a $10,000 loan just for it to be instantly forgiven?
Well, how would you get qualified for it? I don't know all the qualifications.
What do you mean, how would I get qualified? Anyone's qualified to get the loan.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to go and get it.
So is that, and we don't, okay.
You just click a button. At least at my school, you just click a button. And you say, hi, I'd like to get this much amount in debt, in student loan debt, or I'd like to take out this much in loans, and they say yes or no. And I've never heard anyone saying no.
Okay.
I've never heard anyone. So
yeah, well, I have no issue. I really have no issue with these predatory lenders not getting their money back. I think that they're being predatory, and I think it's evil. And I think it's a weapon of war. And I've already stated why. So basically, we agree the way money is printed is on debt. The way the money supply is increased is through debt. They give out loans, they can print out more money. And if they can print out more money, what does that mean? That means we have more money in circulation, which then means what? There's inflation. So if you have a system that's predicated on what? Debt, you then have a system that requires inflation to stay alive in perpetuity, which is a war on the everyday citizen, because then eventually you will be outpaced by inflation unless you can get in some miraculous things that can help you preserve your wealth. You know, a lot of wealthy people put money in assets to ride the inflation, which is a smart thing to do. Real estate to ride the inflation, right? Those are really brilliant things to do to ride the inflation. But people are incentivized to do things like get debt, so that way their money is preserved during inflation. So it's all inflationary. Like the system itself requires inflation to survive.
The people who buy property and who invest in things during times of inflation, those are the people that are well educated about the subject. And those people probably wouldn't advise anyone to attend a university that costs infinite amounts of money.
You're right, but there's a bunch of people.
If you can't afford it.
You're right, but there's a bunch of people who were misled. A bunch. Who were misled, misinformed, maybe poorly educated because they didn't do the research, whatever.
Like, okay, and I don't know. This is what, like, okay, and like, honestly, like, okay, and what does that mean? You know how many people go into the stock market and they hear something like, "Oh yeah, Twitter is about to be bought by Elon
Yeah, but
Musk.
that's
Go
different.
buy now."
That's different.
And then 5 days later, it crashes
Well, that's different.
because they were misled.
Yeah, well, that's
They
different.
were uneducated.
Yes.
How is that different?
Well, because they're not lending money. They're not getting a loan. They're not having to pay interest, and they're not having to take out this loan. You can leverage. I know. You can leverage it, but I hate how you keep adding these qualifiers into your fucking argument. I hate it because I get it. You can leverage out loans. I mean, you can leverage out debt. I get it.
But you keep saying, "Oh, the reason why we should do this is because people were misled."
No, my main argument is this, is that usury is a weapon of war, and it promotes a debt-based economy.
A weapon of war.
Do you not so hang on. What don't you so address my actual talking my points, because I could be missing something here. So please tell me what I'm missing in this.
I'll tell you, I don't think that usury is a weapon of war entirely, okay? Because almost every single American family takes out a mortgage that they plan to pay back so that they can live a beautiful life with their children and their husband or wife in a home, right? That's not war. Without these loans, people would not be able to buy a home.
Yes, and why do they have to take out the loans?
Because a house costs money.
What? No, hang on. Why do they have to take? People didn't have to take out loans before in like the 1940s.
Yeah, like literally when America was being developed and you could buy it.
So answer the question. Answer the question. Why do they have to take out loans? What happened? What changed?
We live in a developed society. We live in a developed society where there are costs to living comfortably like us, right? Now
But
we
why
have
is
things like
that? So
running water,
why did the cost of the homes go up?
electricity? Because there's more people in the world now and there's less land per.
So what happened? So what happened to the money?
Now people are willing to pay more for a house than back then.
So you're avoiding the answer, which is inflation.
It's not just inflation.
It is. That's why people are paying more for the house, is because of inflation.
Even without inflation, let's say America didn't have inflation for the last 100 years or whatever. People probably still didn't have all that money saved up.
But let's talk about what we know. So what we do know is that housing prices have gone up because of what? Inflation. There's more money in circulation. Your money becomes devalued.
That's one reason.
Well, no, that is the reason why.
Think of an island, right?
Dude, there's plenty of land out in this country.
If there's 500, yeah, but no one wants to live in the boonies.
A
Right?
lot of people
Because
do,
it doesn't
actually.
make sense.
So hang on. Who's no one? Who's no one? Since I'm asking you these questions because you're going to be a smart ass with me and then try to add qualifiers to your question. So who's no one? Who doesn't want to live out in the boonies?
Not me. No, not me.
Not you.
Not anyone that I know, because if they did want to live there, they can easily move there. But people don't want to move. People like to live in a comfortable area with running water, running electricity.
So people in the boonies, that's very ignorant of you to say that people in the boonies don't have running water or electricity.
You are misconstruing my argument.
That's what you were doing to me as well.
Talking bad about people in the boonies.
That's exactly what you were doing to me earlier. But so the reason why prices have gone up,
You can't just build a house on.
the reason why prices have gone up is by and large due to inflation. Agree or disagree?
It's not, no. If that's, again, that is one reason, but I was trying to explain to you.
I said
earlier.
by and
If
large,
you live on
the
an
main
island,
reason.
No, it's not just by and large. Do you understand that prices have gone up because the population of the United States has increased significantly since the 1940s?
Yes,
And
and
the
people are
population of the
moving
world-
into cities because they're dumb, and cities fall apart first in an economic collapse, which we are heading towards because we're in a debt-based economy.
So let me explain to you again so you understand. So if think of an island, right? Let's say there's 500 plots
Dude,
of land.
I understand what you're saying. If there's a shortage of supply, prices go up. But there's an abundance of supply. There's an abundance of homes.
I'm sorry. There is not an abundance of supply to live in urban areas. That's not true.
And most people are getting out of urban areas now.
And if that's their choice, I support them. That's good for them.
Yes. So inflation is a huge cause of this. You can also make, I'm not saying that it's the only reason. It is definitely the main reason, though, why prices are going up. There's more money in circulation.
I'm not going to agree to that, but you can say so.
Dude, I can use your island analogy to say, oh, if somebody, there's a coconut there and then somebody has $20, Are they going to pay $20 for that coconut?
Maybe. Depends how many coconuts
Or
there are, right?
There's only one coconut. There's 2 coconuts. There's 5 coconuts. Whatever.
So then
You
if
increase
there's
the
one
money
coconut, then the
supply.
person
If
who
you
owns the
increase the
coconut
money
gets paid.
supply, so if you have 5 coconuts and $5, the coconuts you're going to get maybe $1 a piece, right? Because there's no change. Probably not on an island, right? So it's probably just $1. But then you add $500 into there.
What are you even talking about?
I'm talking about inflation. You increase the money supply, then you spend more money.
Right, but if there's still a limited amount of product, then...
But you're going to
price of
pay
that
more
product is
money
gonna
for the
increase
product
drastically.
because you have more money.
You're going to pay more money for the product because who has more money?
Because the money in circulation, there's more money in circulation.
There's more money in circulation, so...
So what happens during inflation, when there's more money in circulation, prices go up because the money is devalued.
Automatically? Like,
No, not automatically, because inflation it needs 2 things, right? It needs money supply, it needs the increase of money supply and money velocity. So you also need to be spending money with the increase of money.
But not... Again, like, I just don't understand your argument because not everything goes up in value. Like, coconuts probably will stay the same price. I live in a place where coconuts actually grow, and a coconut costs $1. It's always costed $1.
I know, but I'm using an example similar to what you were using on the shortage of supplies. But then if you increase the money supply and then there's the same amount of items, there's probably going to be an increase in price as well.
Yes.
That's inflation.
But then, right, I agree. But then if you...
Dude, then why the fuck are you acting the way that you're acting? It's very disrespectful.
If you inflate the amount of people in the population, then that want the coconuts, then the price is also going to go up drastically, right?
Yes.
So that's my point. So
Yes.
the reason why homes are expensive isn't just because of inflation.
So once again,
It's
my
the
argument is that the main reason they're going up is because of inflation.
It's not. I don't think that's the main reason, and that's why I keep saying that that's not true.
Why don't you think it's the main reason?
Because I don't know exactly what the population of, let's say, the city of, I don't know, Los Angeles was in the 1940s, but I can tell you that now it's a lot more, like a lot more, and thus the price of a house is going to go up drastically. Probably in the 1940s, every single person could own a property on the ocean. Now that's not the case. So those properties are going to go up in value a lot, right? It's not just inflation.
Yeah, we already said that.
And I don't think inflation is the leading cause of the reason why the house is going up in value.
Yeah, I think that it is. Across the country.
The price isn't going up. It's not that the price is going up. It's that the value is going up. That's different, right?
No. I mean, yes, no, I'm with you. No, hang on. I don't mean it the way I said it. Yes, obviously value and price are different. Yes, I agree with that. But I wouldn't say that the value of the properties are going up.
Why aren't they going up when there's thousands of people moving in every day?
Yeah, so I would say the reason the value isn't going up is because cities, especially big cities, are falling apart, dude. I mean, like in New York City, for example, they're encouraging the bankers to not wear suits because they'll get mugged.
Property values in New York are not going up; they're going down.
Actually,
That's weird, right?
no, they are going up. No, they are going up.
They're going down.
No, they're actually going up. They were at so in Manhattan, in New York City. So in Manhattan, it set a record for $5,000 a month being the average rent. Do you know what average is?
Yeah, we went over that earlier.
Yeah. So
Actually, I'm glad you know what that means now.
So yeah, I mean the average is going up.
The average cost of rent is increasing.
Yeah.
How is that correlated with the average cost to buy a property, which has decreased, at least since the pandemic started, since people are moving out of that city?
Well, I don't know that we were talking about buying property. We were talking about places to live.
Rent, and I don't know. I I was talking about buying the whole time, and then you brought up rent. Anyone can ask anything for rent.
But where do they get the rent from? I mean, the rent is based on the quote unquote property value, right? And then they want to get money from it. And so then they'll charge more than they're paying on their mortgage to make money if they have a mortgage. But they'll probably still charge more.
If everyone in New York decided they're going to raise their rent by $1,000 collectively, if all the landlords decide to do that, then there's nothing that anyone can do about it, and thus it would just go up.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But why would they? But why would they have the price? I mean, the reason they have the prices go up is because of inflation. Every real estate person I've ever listened to, they're saying like the reason you increase your prices is because of inflation.
When people think, no. What do you mean?
What do you mean? What do I mean? Yeah.
That's the only reason why the price of a house goes up is because of inflation.
That's never been. No.
That's what you just said.
No, I said that's a reason why the price goes up is because of inflation.
No. 5 seconds ago, you just said that the only reason why that this realtor told you that the only reason why the price of the house goes up is because
we already agreed to the fact that migration plays a role in the cost of things going up, but the biggest role of prices going up has to do with inflation.
And that's where we disagree.
So why is your $100 bill less today than it was in 1930?
That's because of inflation.
So your money's being devalued. So your money's being devalued.
Sure, my money is being devalued, but the cost of a house on the ocean is increasing at a much. You already agreed to this. I got you now. You already agreed that people who are wealthy will purchase properties to beat inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason why they're buying properties on the ocean is because those are the properties that are scarce. And thus those properties are increasing at a faster rate than inflation.
Yeah.
The price. So it doesn't have anything to do with inflation.
Well, it does. It's a two-part system, right? So I think that we're both on. I think we're on the same page here. So I think you're right. I have no issue with that. But what I'm saying is that it would be it would be combining the two issues, right? Because they're getting the house because of inflation. They know that inflation is going to affect the price of housing. It's going to affect the price of most things. However, they also got the property. Why? As you said, it's going to be scarce. It's on oceanfront property. So there's two things that's going to cause it to outpace inflation. It's the printing of money, which is going to increase the money supply, which will increase the value of it, kind of. And then it'll also increase the value of it because of demand from the population that want to live there.
My point is that the main reason why houses are cost different than 100 years ago is because of scarcity.
Yeah, I'm with you. But I'm saying that inflation, I think
scarcity is outpacing inflation.
Okay. No, I don't think that scarcity is outpacing inflation. Maybe in housing, maybe in housing in big cities, you can make that argument. Yes, I would say that would be true, probably, especially if a lot of people want to move.
There's not scarcity. There's not scarcity, for a lack of a better term, in the boonies, right? Is there scarcity there?
No.
Right, exactly. So thus, those houses are not going to outpace inflation. But the majority of Americans live in urban areas, right?
Well, I don't know if that's true. The reason I say that is because farmland is becoming very valuable.
What part is not true?
Well, as far as the boonies being not outpacing inflation, because farmland and just land to homestead is becoming increasingly valuable.
Again, the boonies was a lack of a better term. You could talk about. I don't think like I don't know. I really don't know the other cities and whatever or other towns names. Like like Pensacola, Florida. Like, I don't think that the houses are increasing drastically, the prices there at the same rate as inflation.
I don't know, actually.
I don't even know. I don't know. Like, I don't know. You don't think? Yeah, I don't think. I really don't know. I was trying to figure out another term other than los Dunes.
Well, my point is that while I do agree with you in cities, that's a legitimate argument to say that scarcity is causing prices to go up. I can't disagree with that. But I think it's ignorant to say that inflation has no role to play either. We can argue what has the bigger role.
I'm just trying to remember when I said that inflation never had anything to do with prices going up. I never said that. What I said was that scarcity, at least with homes, is the leading factor for the increase in price. Because you said in the 1940s you could buy a house for very cheap. And why is that different now? Because there wasn't that many people then.
Well, yes, and there's, the money is being devalued. So if we're looking across the United States,
it's not that. It's not just the money being devalued. The money isn't like, I'm sure my grandma lives in a house that was built in like the 1700s. Okay, I'm sure the person who built that house probably built it for a few thousand, if not $100, right? If you accounted for inflation today, that house would cost, maybe $100,000, maybe $50,000. I don't know what it would be, but it's not going to cost the amount that she paid. The reason why she's paying now more is because of scarcity and the neighborhood. There's not that many houses in her neighborhood, so that means the price of that house is going to go up at an extremely much faster rate than inflation ever could. Or, I mean, in this economy, who knows? But like, at least in normal times. No, but it's not scarcity in urban areas. Investors are jumping to push up prices, and people are paying. That's just how things work. Do you think like the cost of an Apple stock, for example, is really changing in value? No, it's that people are willing to pay that. That's just how things work. If everyone decided, no, I'm not willing to pay $1 million for a 3,000 square foot house in the city, then the price would decrease significantly. Because if no one's paying and no one's buying, then people aren't going to be able to sell. And if you're not going to be able to sell, then you're going to lower your price. That's just how economics work. Whoever said that about no Baba.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree.
Who is willing? Like a lot of people. That's why prices of homes are going up, because people are buying. Tell me who's buying right now. A lot of people are buying right now. And a lot of people are buying in rural areas right now, right? Thus, the houses in rural areas are also increasing. Maybe not as drastically as urban areas, but they are increasing.
Yes, but
people are buying.
You may be right as far as houses go. Okay, as far as that goes, that you could argue that, and you've done it well. I have nothing to really say negative about the argument. The supply and demand, that is a huge issue, right? We know that it's a huge issue in the housing market. And really getting back to the student loan debt, my big gripe, once again, is I think that, and maybe you have a good argument for this, as I've already stated before, if you're going to increase the money supply, you're printing more debt. Like, you need debt to make more money. So if you have to keep making debt infinitely to keep making more money, the prices of things will go up. And yes, there are other factors, of course. I'm with you 100%. Supply and demand, there's a bunch of things that go into the economy. I get it. But inflation, I think we can all agree that inflation devalues the money, which then has a huge role in the increase of value.
Loan debts?
I'm sorry?
No, inflation. I thought you were making a connection between inflation and student loan debt.
Yeah, so the student loan debts I'm tying to usury, which is tied to our debt-based
This is
economy.
actually very interesting, actually.
I'm sorry?
This is very interesting how interest loans and debt and interest and loans and inflation. It's a very interesting argument that I'm about to make when you're ready.
Okay.
Wouldn't inflation be good for loans? So if yesterday you owed $1,000, and now today how does this work? If yesterday you owe $1,000, and now today $1,000 is only worth $500, you now basically owe half, right? Obviously, that would be an extreme inflation environment, but if you owe, I don't know what the inflation has been. It's been like really, really high. But let's say $1 now is 90 cents. So if you owed $100 to the bank, now really you only owe 90. So how come you can't pay that? Do you see what I'm saying? In an extreme inflation environment, you're paying less for your loans.
Well, no, because you got interest and tied to it. So the interest is going to increase the amount of debt that you owe.
Unless that interest rate is higher than inflation, which it might not be. They might equal out, or even better, you might be winning. Probably winning right now.
But that would incentivize people to take out debt, would it not?
Yes, and people are incentivized. I've always heard borrow when you can. Because
And you don't
your
think that
money
that's
is
wrong to
devalued.
live on borrowed money? I mean, I'm interested. No. You raise a good point. So how is it not wrong to live on borrowed money?
Imagine in your world where all of a sudden we're in a deflationary environment, right? So now $1,000 equals $1 or something like that, right? So now you owe like $1 million in a deflationary environment, right? So do you understand what I mean? That wouldn't be good for borrowers at all.
Well, deflation, to my understanding,
People who borrow are hoping that inflation increases. I think.
No, because from my understanding, deflation hurts the lender.
Deflation hurts. Yes, it does.
So if the lender is predatory,
The lender does not want deflation.
yes,
Yeah, no.
the lender doesn't want
Sorry.
deflation.
The lender doesn't want inflation.
No, the lender doesn't want deflation because
Why would they not want deflation?
yeah, because in our economy specifically, which is debt based.
So again, imagine this.
Because then they couldn't give out as much debt. So if they can give out more debt, they can then have more inflation, which then increases their value.
If $1, now it's hard to think about it backwards. If $1 now is worth $1.25, right? That means that their interest rate and deflation, that means that they're getting even more money. If I give you $1 right now, and then tomorrow $1 was worth $1.25, that means now basically you owe me $1.25 plus interest. So you get more money.
I think this is the guy that's been saying that we've been wrong this entire time. So I'm interested to hear what he has to say. Maybe he's going to educate me.
Holy shit, I don't even know where to fucking start with you guys. Jesus Christ. First of all, on housing, inflation has nothing to do with the fact that housing prices have risen. Housing prices were rising in 2020 before inflation hit 8%. Period. Had nothing to do with it. Yes, it was. Hang
on. So okay. Inflation has not been taking place at all?
Inflation was not at 8%. Inflation wasn't at
but I
fucking
think he was-
3% in 20. Hold on. Inflation wasn't at 3% in 2020.
But that's not my point. That's not my point. My point was
We were talking about 1940 to 2000.
no. I'm talking about inflation, and for multiple years has played a role, big, small,
Yeah,
whatever.
It also decreases. It's not a constant. Inflation is not constant. It
Yeah.
increases and it decreases.
I think you're right.
What increases is the value of the home based on
Because of
wages.
scarcity, right?
Hold on. Based on wages, based on product.
And why do
cost.
these things
That's
go
what
up though?
increases.
Why do wages go up?
Why do wages go up?
Yeah.
Scarcity.
If you're talking, no, hold on. If you're talking about housing, it has to do with labor costs, how long you've been in labor. It's not just like, oh, we're going to pay these guys. I'm a commercial painter. I have my own painting company. You don't pay these guys $7 an hour for the rest of your lives, and stuff stays the same. These guys get raises every year. The builders need to make more money every year and need to increase profits. Therefore, the cost of the house has gone up year over year over year. That
So
makes
so
sense.
what? Hang on. So really quick, just on the
That's
wages.
something that you do.
Hang on.
That's something that you do, but
No.
Talking about housing is
Hang on.
something I do every
In
day.
general, let's talk like on the economy on a macro scale. Why have wages gone up significantly? Like if we look at what somebody was getting paid, and I'm only using these far dates, like 100 years ago or something, because I was always taught, and I've learned that this is indication of inflation. I could be wrong. You guys may be smarter than me, so I'm ready to be educated. So why is it that wages have increased for similar jobs in 1920 to 2022?
oh my gosh,
Because
of
product. No,
scarcity.
it has nothing to do
What
with
do you
scarcity.
mean?
You just said that there's more people in the world.
Yeah, there's more. You just said
Yes,
there's more
there's
people in the
more
world. How is
people in the
labor
world.
scarce if there's more people?
There's more people in the world,
Right.
so that means that they need more painters.
All right,
So
it's your
if
boy.
If you had one painter today, and there's 100 people,
Look, hold on.
Hang on. I want to hear him talk. I've already, and actually, as a matter of fact, this goes against my rules. So it's your boy. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Peace. One person at a time. All right.
Jesus Christ, dude, that guy. I don't understand. The speaking in theory is just absurd. The reason costs have gone up is because labor has gone up because the value of things has gone up. So you need to make more money.
But has the value of things gone? I'm sorry to cut you off. I just really want to understand this. So, has the value of things actually gone up?
Absolutely. But it's only gone up because labor has gone up and product price has gone up and product cost has gone up.
So really quick. So if value has gone up, why is it that, I was a mechanic and they have not made a better engine since the 1930s. So what value has actually gone up?
Of course they've made better engines since the 1930s.
No, I mean like the longest lasting engines were like made in Germany in the 1930s. They're the best mechanically sound engines that there were, still better than a lot today. You talk to any mechanic today, they're going to tell you, you go from 2007 and up, cars start becoming, very fragile compared to what they used to be.
That's based on mass production and that's based on mass production and just producing as many as you can versus everything being built by hand. That has nothing.
So the value of the cars haven't gone up, right?
And they needed to increase horsepower. You need to increase torque. You need to increase all this stuff because we get faster and faster and faster every year.
But so the value of them hasn't really gone up then.
No, it's gone up. You have more horsepower. You have more torque. You can do more things. There's no truck in the 1930s that's going to pull as much as an 18-wheeler right now. How does that not? The value of that truck and the work that you can put into it just went up 100-fold.
Okay.
So your theory about inflation is not a constant. It goes up, it goes down. What causes inflation
Yes.
is dumb shit like canceling student debt and just adding. They're printing money to get votes. That's it. That's the only thing. And it makes zero sense, especially when we have all
Well,
this inflation.
that's the other thing that I don't understand. So maybe you can educate me on this. We have a debt-based economy.
Mhm.
The only way that they can print money is through debt. They need
Not
debt.
necessarily. Not
It is
necessarily,
actually
okay.
no. 97% of the money that we make comes from debt directly. There's 3% where it doesn't, where it's like mint, but almost every bit of dollar that comes out is through debt, literally. They need debt to make money. That's a fact in our economic system.
Yeah, it's an absolute scam. Credit's a scam.
All right,
It's all
so-
been a scam. They built this up to
so-
rob all these people. So
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
it's a debt-based economy. You need more debt in order to increase the money supply. If you don't take out more debt, which is why interest rates go up and it becomes difficult to get debt during these recessions or inflationary periods so they can cool it down, right? So they reduce the money printing and they increase the interest rates. So that way they can try to... I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they are. Just listen to me. I'm not saying they are. Because you were in the chat saying how wrong we were. And so I'm assuming you know a shit ton. So school me on this. The fact that they restrict the money supply in order to decrease inflation. Well, if you cancel debt, if you pay off the debt, you are then eliminating portions of the potential money supply because you can no longer print that money that you would have printed because you're eliminating the debt. So how would it be inflationary if you're restricting or constricting the money supply?
because so here's what's going to happen with this. They're not eliminating the debt. It's not being canceled. It's not just going away. It needs to be paid for. And what's going to happen is all these students are going to go to the government and they're going to say, okay, give me my 10 grand. Or they're going to pay off the debtor directly. I don't know exactly how it's going to work. That money is going to come from somewhere. Now, what's going to happen is they're going to say, okay, we already have this, in this fund that we're going to pay off, right? We already have it, which they don't know how many people are going to actually go and apply for this. Then what's going to happen is they're going to say, oh, we don't have enough money to pay for these social programs. We need to print more money to pay for these social programs. It's not like we have this money sitting there and they're going to pay it off and then it just goes away. This is going to build and build and build. And eventually you're going to get to a point where you have to print more money.
But you need debt. So that's not really answering the question though, because you need debt in order to print money. And if you're canceling debt, I get it. You can get triggered by canceled. You can get triggered by eliminated, but we all fucking know it gets paid. We all know. All right.
Right. It gets paid, right.
Whatever. Eliminate. We're just going to keep using the same language. It's eliminated, right?
Right.
They can't then print the money that they would have been able to print through that debted money. You understand that, right?
Sure. I understand that.
Which then means that what's happening to the money supply?
It's still going to the colleges and whoever.
But what happens to the money supply? It becomes constricted, does it not?
No.
How does the money supply not become constricted if you cut off the debt that is needed to print the money?
Because you still need to pay off the debt.
But you understand, I already said you pay off the debt, dude. You pay off the debt.
Okay.
The money supply from the debt goes away.
Okay. All right. I see where we disconnect here. So you're thinking of this in this one-time instance, right?
No.
Right?
No, I'm thinking of this as like a continuous thing.
Okay, so a continuous thing. So what's going to happen when the colleges realize that they can get another $10,000 free out of the student?
They're going to be more I would argue, I've been making this argument that they're going to be more selective and it's going to be harder to get loans.
Hell no. They're going to give.
Why would it not?
Because it's guaranteed by the government 10 grand.
Well, that doesn't make any. So I'm sorry, but this argument doesn't make any sense to me. And maybe I'm stupid, but the argument doesn't make sense to me because if you need debt to make money, I keep going back to this point because I don't know why this is not talked about at all. I don't see anybody talking about this in the media. I don't see anybody talking about this anywhere on TikTok, YouTube, anywhere.
Right,
if you need debt.
Explain this to me, because I don't necessarily understand what you mean by you need debt to make money. I understand what you're saying about constricting the cash flow. I got that. But this sentence in general doesn't make sense to me. And you're talking to a guy who took out a loan to buy the painting company that I now own.
Uh-huh. Yeah, so when a bank takes your money, they use that money as leverage to print more money from the government. That printed money is given through what? A loan. The way the Federal Reserve is able to make more money is by you depositing money into the bank, and then they keep your money. They don't lend out your money. They keep your money. They leverage your money in the bank to then say, hey, Federal Reserve, can we get $1 million because we have X amount of dollars? They're like, sure. And then they print the money in a form of a loan. Therefore, they need a debt event to trigger money printing.
Okay.
So if you then eliminate the debt events from taking place, you then eliminate the money printer going burr.
You're gonna hate me for what I say next, but it's just they're still going to capture that money. They're still going to increase that debt. That debt's not
How,
going away.
though?
It's going away for these people. It's because the cost of college is going to go up $10,000, and they're going to then put more people in further debt and then recuperate a guaranteed $10,000. That's what they're going to do. It's not a hard stop.
I don't know that it'll work that way. I don't know that it will. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me that
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. If you're, where do you live at? What area?
I live in the Midwestern United States in Ohio.
Okay, I live in Southern California, grew up in Vegas. Okay, there is road construction every day, all day long, 365. Why is that? Because I'll use Vegas as an example. There's only one paving company in the state of Las Vegas, or the state of Nevada, that paves roads, Las Vegas Paving Corporation, which is owned by the mafia, but we can get into that another time. The reason that there's always paving going on and the reason you never see anybody doing anything is because it's government funded. They are going to get their money, and they're going to have to spend that money. That's if the government.
Yeah, but we're talking about a different scenario,
I'm just
though.
making a point. If the government's going to hand you money, people are going to extend it as far as they can. That's just how human nature is. And the government's going to continue to pay it because, we need it. And then if it goes over budget, they don't give a shit. They just print more money or they raise taxes. It's a cyclical thing, and it's just going to grow.
But the only way they can print money is through giving out debt. And if they keep canceling the debt, it is.
They can, no, it's not.
I just explained to you. I literally, so first off, first off, you were in the chat. I just want to point this out. You were in the chat and you didn't even fucking know how money is made. I had to teach you how money is made, and you're telling me how wrong I am. So that's very interesting.
Okay, all right. So you're talking about how money is made. Let's take, for instance, all the PPP loans and whatever that $1.7 trillion, I can't remember the name of it, America, whatever that fucking Trump signed. There was no debt there.
There was.
$1.7 trillion.
Are you kidding me? Do you know Trump increased the national debt more than any president?
Yeah, I understand that. But there wasn't you're saying there needs to be debt to print.
There has to be. There absolutely has to be.
He created debt by printing money. So
no, you need the debt in order to print the money. Banks go, hey, we have money to leverage. Federal Reserve, can we borrow X amount of dollars? The Federal Reserve says, guess what, guys? Here's money that we can print now because you triggered a debt event. That's the only way it'll get printed.
No, it's not. They print money.
Oh my God.
Based on whatever they.
Why do you think the national debt keeps going up?
Because we have way too many social programs and too much waste.
Because we keep printing money.
I understand that.
And the reason we keep printing money is because we keep getting into debt.
I get that. You're saying you need debt to print money. No,
yes.
Printing money and creating debt.
No, you need the debt in order to print the money. That's the way it works. Logically, that's the way it works.
No, it's not.
It actually is.
No, it's not. They're printing money and then creating debt. How do you assume the debt comes first?
No. So once again, banks go, I have money deposit, Federal Reserve, I'm leveraging this money. Can we get X amount of dollars? And that X amount of dollars is in the form of a loan. Do you know what a loan is? A loan is debt.
You're talking in micro, like a microeconomic.
No, this is, dude, literally. No, dude, literally, this is how it works. Literally, the there's all money is printed through private banks via debt. They need debt. They need a debt event to trigger the money printer. Go burr. They require it.
That makes. I don't understand how you can come to that conclusion when if you print money through the government and pay social programs, it creates debt.
Yes, it does, because you need debt to print the money.
No, you need laws to print the money, which then creates debt.
Well, our laws have stated We are now in a debt-based economy, meaning you need credit, you need debt in order to trigger a money printing event.
I don't understand where you're going with this. I was saying you guys were wrong about housing.
Yeah, so my whole point with this is I think that student loan debt cancellation and debt cancellation will be deflationary, not inflationary.
It'll be inflationary because they have to print more money.
But they have to take out more debt. And if the debt keeps getting canceled,
You still have to pay it.
but the debt is getting canceled, it's getting paid off, it's getting wiped, it's getting wiped, it's getting wiped, it's getting wiped.
Who's paying for it?
You could say the government, but I mean, there's other people who could pay for it as well.
Okay, all right. The government doesn't pay for shit. Period. Government doesn't pay for anything. It's taxpayer paid.
Okay. Who facilitates the transaction?
The IRS.
All right. All right, man. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yo,
Hey, what's going on?
hey. So I've been listening to y'all for like a while, and I will say, like, I feel like I respect you because you got some things right, but you got some other things like real weird and wrong. And I'm not saying this to be a dick. I'm saying I can back it up.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Help me. Like, hey, I want to preface. I'm not an economic
Yeah.
pro. I'm not an economist. This is just something that I've learned recently because I thought I didn't know exactly what would happen to the economy with debt, with people forgiving debt. I just, from my perspective, my worldview, I believe that usury is a weapon of war, as I've stated numerous times in this, and I've explained why. And I think that it should not be.
And we can get into that, but let's talk about the simple things you got wrong first, honestly. Like, I hear your point about that, and we can talk about it, but it's hard to argue it because it's more of a slogan than it is an actual, like, point. Like, it's hard to be like, it's not a weapon of war. Well, why? Because then we can argue about what a weapon of war is. It's kind of like Build Back Better. It's like, what does that mean? You know, like, it's a slogan. It's or like Make America Great Again. It's a slogan. It's not policy. So I like to strongly prefer to talk about policy, not like slogans. No offense to that. I'm just explaining like why I kind of am avoiding the weapon of war thing, because it could be right, it could be wrong, but it's still hard to argue because it kind of depends on how you define it.
Fair enough.
So the first thing I do want to talk about, though, is I actually want to just talk about something you've been saying over and over and over again, and I kind of just want to get it out of the way. So I'm going to Google this right now.
Mhm.
I'm going to Google dictionary.com. Okay?
Okay.
And I am going to look up the word inflation.
Yep.
Okay. A general increase in prices.
Yep.
That's the definition.
Yep. And
So
also there's multiple definitions to inflation. Increasing the money supply is inflation as well.
sometimes increasing the money supply doesn't always lead to inflation. It
Well,
can
hang
cause-
on. I will say this. Hang on. Just to add this in there, because I've stated this numerous times as well, that in order to have prices increase, there needs to be two things to happen. You need to have more money supply, and you need to have money velocity. So I've always said that. I've never been like, you increase the money supply, prices go up. Never been my argument.
I'm not making that argument either. What I am saying is this. It's a more simple. I'm arguing a linguistics thing here, okay? What you were just saying, that sentence you just said, that was discussing why you think inflation might happen. And I get that, and I do, and I think it's an interesting argument. But what was happening earlier is you guys were arguing about whether or not inflation was the reason prices go up.
Mm-hmm.
But the definition of the word inflation is when prices go up.
Yep.
It's like saying the reason for fire is hot.
Well, I will add this, that there's
It's
different.
Like saying, if I said, why is my house burning down? And you say, well, because someone lit the gasoline on the stove. And I say, no, it's because fire.
Yeah. So
I'm not wrong. My house is burning down because fire. In the same reason, you're not wrong to say that the reason why prices are going up is inflation. But you're basically just saying the reason why my house is burning is because fire. It's technically true, but only because the words are like definitionally synonyms in this really useless sense.
Well, you do know there's different kinds of inflation, right? There's demand pool inflation. So we
Yeah,
could be
there's all
arguing,
kinds of
we could be
reasons for why
arguing different
inflation
kinds of
happens.
inflation. So it's not, so I think the guy that was on here before was technically arguing for demand pull inflation, which is essentially supply and demand. There's more demand than there is supply. Therefore, prices go up. It's demand pull inflation. The inflation I was talking about was the decreasing of money due through money printing and money velocity.
I think you're missing my point. So are there different kinds of fire?
Yes.
Okay. So therefore, I could go into this long rant about how, the fire in my house is caused by a backdraft, which is caused by blue flames started from a gas stove, whatever. I could do all that. And yes, having a discussion of the types of fire, that's very interesting. But if I repeatedly insisted over and over again, my house was burning down because fire, and that's the only reason, that's a stupid thing to say, even though it's true. Because what you really seem like you're trying to say is you're trying to offer an opinion about the sources of inflation or the reasons behind inflation or the causes of inflation, and all that's interesting. But say inflation is caused by...
Okay, so instead of trying to, I appreciate it, but what am I getting wrong
prices
here?
go up because inflation. That's just saying fire goes up because flame.
Okay, so what am I getting wrong in my argument on the student loans?
Well, the first thing you're getting wrong in the argument of student loans is about it being deflationary. That's the most recent one. I mean, there's a lot of separate arguments, but the inflationary one's really easy. Okay? So you argued, correct me if I'm wrong, that number one, that the debt should be canceled over and over again. Every time a student gets student loan debt, they should have it canceled. Yeah?
No, that's not my argument. My argument is that... No, my argument is this, which I've stated numerous times. My argument is for debt forgiveness after X amount of years. I would say 7 years. After 7 years, everybody should have their loans forgiven if they have made an honest attempt at paying them off and something has happened in their life in which they could not pay off the loans as intended.
Okay, it sounds like you're saying is that you only should have your loans forgiven if something really bad has happened to you, but if otherwise you should have to pay off your loans. You should not have loan forgiveness.
No, what I'm saying is there should be a certain amount of time that you have to pay off your loans. And if you are unable to pay off your loans, you should be forgiven. Now, it doesn't and if you can't, for whatever reason, it doesn't have to be something drastic. It could just be oh, wow, I really just couldn't afford it this month to pay what I used to pay because I wouldn't be able to eat or I'd have to sacrifice something else and I didn't want to do.
Or what if I don't really have a good reason? What if I just don't want to pay it?
Yeah, so I believe that you should have a good reason not to pay it. And I believe that there should be ways to check that out.
Okay, so you're not talking about forgiveness for everyone then. You're only talking about forgiveness for people who have good reasons.
I'm talking about debt forgiveness for everyone that has a good reason after 7 years. I would say that would be reasonable. So that way they are not living in crippling debt, especially if they're making attempts to pay off the loan.
Okay. So you're not so to be clear, you're not talking about canceling student debt for everyone. You're only talking about canceling student debt for those people who go through some process demonstrating that they have a good reason.
Yes.
Okay. So to be clear, that's not what's happening under the policy that we're describing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason required.
Yeah. So in my what I would say to that is we have to start somewhere. We have to enter it into the zeitgeist somehow. And then we can debate on how to make it better, but it has to start.
So your proposal would be then that if you were in charge, you would like to modify this bill to not forgive the debt for people who fail to give a good reason.
I think right now, especially with the student loan debt, a lot of people with student debt, I think I've made this argument again before. They've been brainwashed a long time. There's been a lot of programming to go to college. And I think that this is very nefarious on the parts of the lenders and even the government to be able to print more money and to print more money. So I think that everybody that fell victim to this PSYOP should be able to receive debt forgiveness. I think this is a good place to start to introduce debt forgiveness into the society,
Okay,
and then we
so
modify
you're
it.
saying just one time we forgive everyone, but then after that we only forgive people who can demonstrate a good reason.
That would be ideal.
Okay. That's fair. I can at least see the logic of that. What's interesting, I do want to talk about the other version, which is what I thought you were saying earlier, which is that you don't need a good reason to have it be forgiven, and you can have it be forgiven repeatedly.
No, so that was never my argument.
Okay, that's fair.
Mhm.
If it was never your argument, we won't address it. But can you see how that would, in fact, be inflationary?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not really a pro at economy, but what I know is that if you have to keep canceling debt and the printing money after you're taking out more debt, you're just negating the inflation. It's not deflationary or inflationary, depending on the size of the debt.
Exactly. So let me explain why. So would you agree, hypothetically, that it would be inflationary to print $100,000 and give it as corporate welfare to Tesla? Maybe not 100,000. Let's do 100 trillion. If we gave around, what's 100 billion? 100 billion is a nice round number. $100 billion, and we're just going to write a check to Elon Musk. That's it. That's the entire policy. The government prints $100 billion, and then we write it, and then we put it in Elon Musk's bank account. Would that be inflationary?
So if the government just wrote a check to Elon Musk for $100 billion, would that be inflationary?
Yes, that's the question.
Well, yes, because you would have to have debt in order to do it, right? So you would need to increase the money supply.
Okay. Well,
If
there's
you're
no debt
printing it.
involved here, no one's getting involved in debt. I'm literally just saying we are going to use the Federal Reserve System, and we're going to increase the amount of money in Elon Musk's account, $100 billion.
So if you're using the Federal Reserve, you then need, if you're going to print, so are you printing this money, or is this money that's already printed?
Using the power granted to me by the Treasury, I log into the electronic banking system with the treasurer's credentials, and I add 6 zeros to a 1, and then I send an ACH to Elon Musk, or 9 zeros to a 1.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, you do realize that money in the United States is digital, right?
I do. 100%.
Computer systems, right?
100%.
So I'm literally just saying, log into the computer system, write down a 1 followed by 8 zeros, hit send to Elon Musk.
Uh-huh.
Would that be inflationary?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to increase the money supply.
Right. That is, by definition, increasing the money supply. I just did it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, let's say, hypothetically, what I do is, instead of doing all of that, I offer everyone in America a free Tesla. And specifically what I offer them is I offer them a credit for a Tesla. Would that be inflationary?
I would say, yeah. I mean, you'd have to increase.
We put the money in Tesla.
I mean, you would have to increase the money supply in order to give the credit. So yes.
Right. So what I do is, instead of doing the first part where I just write the number and send it to Musk, what I do is I print out a bunch of piece of paper tickets, and then once Musk redeems them, he gets the money in his account. Right?
Okay.
That's still inflationary, yeah?
Uh-huh.
Okay. What if I tell everyone who gets the tokens that they have to pay the ticket dollar value back, except then, like, maybe a week later, I just say, nah, you guys don't have to. Isn't that still the same thing?
Well, no, because you're not increasing the money supply.
All I did is I'm still writing a paper ticket. They're still giving it to Elon Musk. I'm still giving Elon Musk the money in response to those paper tickets. The only difference is that I lied to them up front, telling them that it was a loan when it was still a gift. Everything I did is exactly the same as in the previous scenario.
Yeah, but then when you tell them that they don't have to pay it back, you're not increasing the money supply.
Yes, I am. I'm doing it. Okay, so in
No,
the first
no,
case,
because-
let me just give it out as a voucher.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is you give people credits to get Tesla, and then you say you have to pay back these credits. You don't pay back. Then you're like, you don't have to pay back these credits. Well, then you don't need to print any more money. You can't print money.
Okay, so hold on. You agree that I'm printing money when Elon Musk redeems the vouchers, right?
Yes, because the only way to print the money is because there has to be a debt event that's being triggered.
No, hold on. Liz, look at what Z Martin said in the comments. In my example of this voucher thing, I'm paying Elon Musk for every voucher that gets dropped off, and I'm handing the vouchers out to the citizens. How is that not just writing a check to Elon Musk with extra steps?
Maybe I'm missing something here, but what my understanding is that when you do a debt forgiveness, which is what you're giving an analogy for, when you do some kind of debt forgiveness, you are getting rid of debt. I know you pay for it. I get it. So you pay towards some certain debt, but that then reduces the amount of money that you can print. Therefore, if you cannot print more money...
And at what step do I reduce the amount of money that I need to print in my analogy?
Well, because you need to print. So my understanding is that in order to print money, you need debt. A debt event needs to trigger money printing. Without a debt event, there is no money printing.
Okay, I'm not talking about debt events or anything like that. I'm literally saying hypothetically, if I logged into the electronic banking system of the United States as the head of the Treasury.
But there would need to be a debt event.
0 to a 1.
Yeah,
Let's say I changed a 0 to a 1. Could I do that? Could I theoretically log into that computer system and do that?
Theoretically, yes. But in the world that we live in, there would need to be a bank requesting a loan for that amount of money in order for you to bring it into circulation.
I mean, okay, fine. So it's exactly the same thing, except, like, what? Someone else just asks me to put the 1 into the 0?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you need, yes. Yes.
I still did it. Who cares? Who cares who asked me to do it?
So then if you pay off the debt...
I'm changing a 0 into a 1, and then I'm giving it to Elon Musk, that's inflation.
Yes, but then if you pay off the debt, you are then reducing the amount of money that can be printed, which is in turn deflationary because you're constricting the money supply.
No. Okay. To be clear, let's try it like this. Let's say Elon Musk has $1,000 in his bank account, okay? Now I'm the government, and some bank comes to me and said, hey, can you give me $1,000? And I say, sure. And I give them $1,000 that I have written up. So now there's $2,000 in the economy. That bank hands that money to Elon Musk. Elon Musk now has $2,000. Is that inflationary?
Yes.
Okay. Same exact situation. Elon Musk has $1,000. A bank comes to me and asks me to give them $1,000. I give them $1,000. They give that $1,000 to some guy, and then that guy gives the $1,000 to Elon Musk. Elon Musk has $2,000 in his bank. Is that the same thing as the previous situation, but with extra steps?
Well, yes, but the root cause, I mean, we're talking about money printing, right?
So let me ask you, is that inflation because it's the same thing with extra steps?
Yes.
Okay. So far we have a bank asked me to create money for them. I gave them the money. They gave that money to a guy. That guy gave the money to Elon Musk. End of simulation.
Uh-huh.
That's inflation, right?
Okay.
Okay. Same thing, but we change Elon Musk to a college.
Okay.
Isn't that still inflation?
In the scenario in which you're providing, yeah.
Okay, how is that scenario not the same thing?
So
Not what actually canceling student debt is. Because when a student gets a student loan, a bank.
so how do you
asks the
print
Federal
money? So
Reserve
how do you
for
get
money.
access to printing money?
I'm the government. I can do that.
But
That's
no.
what
How do you
Treasury
get
does.
access to printing money?
Who? The government?
If you're the government, how do you get access to print money?
I'm the government. This is money on a piece of paper. That's what the Treasury does.
Do you not? So once again, I fucking hate this. Why do people come on here, think I'm stupid, and they don't even know how the fuck money is printed?
I know how money works.
Then how is money created?
Like that? The banks request a loan from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve increases and they increase the amount of money in the computer system, and then they put that money in the bank's account.
Yes, cool. We're on the same page. So if you do debt cancellation, it will be a deflationary event, because then you would constrict the amount of money that can be inflated, that can be created.
But you're not canceling the amount of money that was created, and you're not clawing any money that was created at all when you do that. Literally, debt cancellation is exactly.
So first off, nobody actually knows how this is going to be paid off, right? That's still in the air. But they want to have it paid off. Now let's say that they use the university endowments, and they say this $10,000 and $20,000. We'll use the endowments of the university. Therefore, no new money is needed to be printed. And who's to say, that?
So you're saying the federal government is going to seize the endowment of universities
It
that
could.
receive federal funds?
It could.
Okay, they could. Is that going to happen? Is there even a
Hopefully.
proposal for that?
It is possible, and I hope that they do that.
Okay. I mean, I'll agree with you that if what happens is, because in my analogy, what you'd be suggesting is, to use my analogy, in order for it to be deflationary, the government would go and raid Elon Musk's account and take all the money back. If they did that, then yeah, that would be deflationary. You're right. But since they're not doing that,
No. So what I'm getting at here is is that the root cause of it is that if you can't print more money because you're getting rid of debt, and I get it, guys, you can stop telling me you have to pay it off. I fucking get it.
they're not getting rid of debt. The debt.
You are paying off the debt in some way, shape, or form. It's being paid off, right? You can say that they're using the tax revenue.
That they don't owe it anymore.
It's going to have to be paid. Everybody agrees to that, right? Somebody's going to have to pay it.
No, they don't. That's what canceling student debt means. The government is the lender. They just declare that they don't owe it anymore.
Okay, so you know what? Actually, I will say this. In the beginning of the day, when I had this conversation earlier, that was my position. But then I was told by a bunch of people I was wrong. And so then I just went with them, because I was like, well, a bunch of people are telling me I'm wrong. Maybe people are actually having to pay this off. But that was my understanding of cancellation as well. All right, so I'll just be straight up. I've been using it the other way. But my understanding of cancellation is that they would just eliminate the money that is owed. And if they eliminate the money as owed, then that even furthers my point, which would be, if they just eliminate the money, then they don't need to print any money to pay off the debt.
But
And
they
they're not
already printed the money when they gave the loan in the first place, and then the loan was
Yes,
used
but
to
then
pay
there's no
for
but
it.
yes, so okay, so but you're not printing any more money, which means that it won't trigger an inflationary event.
Right. So you're saying that no one would give student loans anymore.
No. My argument also has been that during this, you would eventually see a system where loans are much harder to get.
Okay. So the government wouldn't give out student loans at all.
That would eventually, hopefully, be the thing.
Okay. And that's interesting. And I agree with you that if the government did decide to stop giving out student loans, that would also not be inflationary. That would help deflation. I agree. But again, that's a different policy. The question of, should I take money that currently exists and has already been printed and no longer need it back, then that's inflationary. If you're saying we're going to stop giving out money in the future by some other policy, or you're saying we're going to tax colleges more as some other
But I'm still not understanding
both
how
of those policies would be deflationary. Sure, I'll trivially agree to that, but I don't think that that's what you're proposing, right? I mean, that's not what we're talking about.
So in this current scenario, if we understand this correctly, and the cancellation of debt just means it's wiped out. No more money is printed in order for it to be paid off, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
So if money isn't printed and debt is canceled, and you need debt to print money, and then you have less debt, which means that you can't print as much money.
Well, no, because, okay, so what you're saying is this. Let's say that we do that thing where Elon Musk, you give a check, you give, like, you do my analogy, you do my system before, you give the vouchers to the guy, and the guy gives the voucher to Elon Musk, and then we give the money to Elon Musk, right? Now, at this point, we just say, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. Is the fact that we declared we're not going to do that anymore, is that like, does that actually deflate the currency? Does that take money out of the money supply?
Well, yeah, I mean, because then you're no longer inflating it, right?
Well, it doesn't actually deflate it, though. It doesn't take any money out of anything. It just says, yeah, we're going to stop putting it in, right?
Yeah, but if you have less debt, which is the main issue, with less debt means less money can be printed. And so the more debt that you cancel...
A little bit, because I'm not, in my situation, nobody has debt at all. I'm just talking about...
So then that doesn't matter. So then that's not a really a fair analogy then to what we're talking about.
But it is, though, because debt is when one person just moves money from one account into another, and then they have a future hypothetical obligation to move the money back. That's what debt is a hypothetical future obligation to transfer money back where you got it.
Yeah, I mean, debt, just so we're on the same page here, because, I mean, you could just say that you're going to transfer the money over, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you need debt to transfer the money over to somebody else's account. So you need a lender. You need somebody to lend you money, and then you have something to say that you're going to pay that lender back X amount of money in X amount of time.
Right.
Right? But then if that lender now has just been told by the government that debt that person owed is wiped, that then means the Federal Reserve's opportunity to print money from that loan has been eliminated.
No, because the Federal Reserve already printed the money for that loan. They already did it. That happened in the past. How can they unprint it just by declaring that they're not going to do anything?
Yes. So I get what you're saying, right? Because the money's still out there. The money that was printed through the loan is still out there. Correct. But if you go through with this event, this student loan cancellation, you are then reducing the debt supply significantly, which then reduces, because I think I could be wrong on this, and maybe you know more than I do on this particular thing. But fractional reserve banking allows for the banks to take out 10 times, I think it's like 10 times the amount of money than they actually have. So if they cancel the loan, I don't know that they necessarily, I don't know all the loopholes to this. I don't know if they necessarily need to take out that 10X. So let's say the person who took out the loan only took out what they absolutely needed, and the bank still had another 9X. Would that money would they cancel out the fractional reserve part of that as well? I don't know. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
I appreciate your conversation today. I'm not trying to wuss out. I'm just kind of tired because I waited for like an hour and I kind of only had steam earlier in the evening. But, I appreciate the spirited conversation. And honestly, I wish you luck with getting other conversations. I think I got to go.
Yeah, man.
If you're interested, though, in asking me anything or having a final word, I'll listen to it.
All right. No, it's all good, man. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yep, have a good one.
Bye-bye.
All right. This is the last one, and then I'm done. And it won't be very long, hopefully. What's going on?
Word, man. So this is, I think, where everybody's gotten mixed up so far. So Fed essentially has unlimited money, right? So in order to create money, they have to purchase securities.
Yep.
Right? So they say, okay, cool. Hey, this bank says they want $1 billion. Fed says, cool, I'll buy $1 billion worth of your bond, your treasury bond, right?
Yep.
They give the bank the $1 billion. Bank has to have 10% held back, right? For security purposes. That's how we got in the 2008 crash. They can loan out 900 million of those dollars digitally, right? For houses, businesses, governments, whoever they want to loan it to, right? Those people eventually deposit that money back into that bank or a different bank. And now that money can be re-leveraged and re-leveraged and re-leveraged. So that $1 billion that the Fed purchased in bonds is now lent out tenfold to $10 billion, right?
Yeah.
There is no real creation of money unless the Fed purchases a security,
Yep.
right? Here's the problem with student loans, right? So student loans are backed by the government, not the Fed.
Yep.
So we've got 16 trillion bazillion dollars of debt, as the government, right? That eventually has to be paid back to the Fed, right? Because the Fed controls the money. They're at the top of that food chain. So when we say, okay, cool, we're going to back $2 trillion of student loan debt, that's the government saying they're going to back it, not the Fed. Now, when the government says we're backing it, so if these people default, don't worry, school, you're going to get your money. The federal government is going to pay you. We're not going to take more money from the Fed to do it. We're saying we're going to do it, which means we're going to add to the national debt if we have to go to the Fed to get that money, right? Otherwise, we're going to take it out of our checking account. We're going to pay for that defaulted loan. When we forgive $300 billion of student loan debt, we are adding that $300 billion directly to the national debt. We still have to pay the Fed back because the Fed needs the money that they loaned out for that student loan to begin with, right? Now, as far as inflation or deflationary, it's inflating the national debt. It's causing the government to go further in debt, and the government needs more money to cover that, right? So they need to get that money somehow. That's how that whole system works. And it goes round and round in a big circle. Now, on the other side of that coin, the Fed can also decide, hey, there's too much money out there. Inflation's going nuts. So what they'll do is rather than purchasing securities and throwing money out there, they'll start selling securities back, the ones that they've accumulated, right? They did this to pay for everybody's stimulus checks and all that stuff. They started buying a bunch of securities, $80 or $100 billion a month, whatever it was. Right? So they have all these securities, all these bonds, stocks, everything else. So when they say, hey, we need to get money out of the supply for the world or for the U.S., they'll start selling those securities. And the money that they take out of the economy by reselling those securities back and they get that giant paycheck, they will burn that money or hit the delete key, however you want to put it, and that will lower the money supply. Literally on a weekly basis, there are hundreds of billions of dollars that the total amount of money out there, U.S. dollars in the world, fluctuates by hundreds of billions of dollars a week with that balancing act. Like, that's how money $300 billion for a student loan, it's a drop in the bucket. It's nothing. Ultimately, the federal government has to pay for it. So rather than looking at inflation or deflation, look at national debt, because that's where that money's going to go, right? So the government's either going to have to cut spending somewhere or add it to the national debt. They're going to have to do something, but the money doesn't disappear. Now, that one guy back there a little while ago that says, hey, every school in the world or the nation is going to increase their tuition by $10,000 because they know that so-and-so and so-and-so is going to get a free $10,000 from the government. That's going to happen if this continues. Like, that's the bottom line. That's honestly, I've been dying to say this the whole night. Everybody's talking themselves in fucking circles. That's all I got, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was probably the best answer I've heard all night. I mean, you sound more knowledgeable than I do on that particular thing. I don't know, man. It's an interesting issue. So a big problem, in my opinion, is the debt-based economy. And I think that's why we're in the position we're in, as far as, people wanting debt cancellation and, prices are going up in part because of I know the last guy said that inflation, you're arguing different kinds of fire, but I think it's important to, list the different kinds of reasons why money is going up, but by and large, it's because of inflation prices.
So here's the thing. Inflation is a good thing, like moderate inflation. 2%,
Yeah.
or 1%, whatever the Fed says they want to try to keep it at every year. That's good stuff, right? Like you go to your job every day. I go to my job every day. I want a raise. In order for me to get a raise, my company needs to make more money. In order for them to make more money, people have to buy more of their shit, right? Like otherwise, I get in my job, I don't make a nickel more. I can't afford some things that maybe 20 years down the line I want to afford, right? Everybody wants to live in a big house, have a nice car, everything else. If there's not inflation and there's not opportunity out there, and the money supply doesn't continue to grow in line with the population and the rest of the economy, right? It's all a very fragile machine. Then what really is the incentive to do anything if you're never going to get further than you were? At that point, you're talking socialism. Everybody gets the same wage and everybody can afford the same shit, but then you need to be able to produce that much shit. Like it all gets crazy, but in the end, inflation is helpful to a solid, stable economy where people have the opportunity to succeed and make money. Education system, I didn't go to college. I didn't want to go to, I couldn't get a student loan, believe it or not. The whole college thing, the prices have they've far outpaced inflation over the last 20 years. I know when I graduated high school, I got a lot of friends that ended up with 70 or 80 grand in debt going to places like Northwestern and some higher end universities. Nowadays, you can't get into any of those for under a couple $100 grand, right?
Right.
And it wasn't that long ago. So part of that is the machine, right? They can continue to increase those prices because they know the government's going to continue to back all those loans. That's why we have $1.7 trillion worth of college debt. But the other hand, too, is the amount of technology that are going in these schools. A university is extremely, extremely expensive to run, right? This idea of no more student loans for anybody and school is going to be free, that's a pipe dream, right? These places literally, if they take in $100 million of tuition in a year, they're spending about 95 of that just to run the joint and keep the lights on, right, when it's all said and done. So, I mean, the price thing, like I said, I do think it's inflated college-wise. I do think they could put in some regulations that say, okay, colleges are not for profit, right? You have to justify your expenses, and maybe they put caps on it, just like they do with football teams, right? You can only have a certain payroll on your football team. Maybe they need to put caps on college university spending. Right?
So, what's your take on?
Needs to be in line with what they charge tuition.
What's your take on a jubilee?
A what now?
A jubilee. So, every so often, debt forgiveness, especially for those that are, trying to pay off the loan. They couldn't pay off the loan, and as opposed to having them try to pay off the debt for the rest of their lives, there's an agreement that if they can't pay said loan off in X amount of time, but they're making reasonable effort to, it'll be forgiven, and that goes for all debts.
I disagree with it 100%. So they have, I think they currently have some sort of thing with teachers, right? Teacher student loan is forgiven, what is it, 10 years? Don't quote me on this. It's 10 years into them being a teacher. If they haven't paid off their loans or whatever, it's forgiven or something weird like that. For teachers, educators, nurses, doctors, right? First responders, people that are doing that type of work. Of course, if you're a nurse or a doctor, hopefully you don't have a problem paying off your student loan, right? But teachers, right? It's traditionally a lower paying salary job. It's something that we need more of in this country. Absolutely. But if Johnny wants to go to college to be a communications major and gets his bachelor's in communications and ends up flipping burgers because he's not real good at it, bro, you made your choice. that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, everybody thinks you need college. You don't need college. You're told you need college by your parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's really all. I can't see just wiping everybody out. Like, oh, I want to go be a computer programmer, so I spend $200 grand on an education, and I can't program for shit, and I can't get a job. Man, that really sucks, but you made a choice, bro. Like, they're not going to put you in jail for the rest of your life if you don't pay your student loans. You'll never see your tax return, and your credit report will look like shit, but we're talking about credit and debt being bad on this conversation anyway, so fuck it, right?
Yeah. Well, hey man, I'm gonna get off of here. I've been on here for far too long tonight. I did not expect to go as long as I've been on here. I appreciate you coming on, everybody that came
I
on.
didn't expect to get so enthralled with this conversation for the last hour and a half. I was just flipping through. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, well, apparently you and a lot of other people. I mean, there's like almost 250 people in here, so that's, a lot of people, I guess, enjoyed this kind of conversation. So,
Well, I'm out. I hope you guys have a great night, whoever's out there listening.
yeah. All right, man. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe to MOT Media on YouTube. We have live streams. We try to do them every day, but that's going to be changing here soon. It's going to be Monday, Friday. Mick's going to be doing it, and then I'll be doing MOT Ohio. So if you're from Ohio, I have a TikTok that is all focused on MOT or Ohio news. You can find it at MOT_Ohio. And if you guys got any value out of tonight, it'd be awesome if you want to send some money. If not, don't worry about it. I mean, we do try to put a lot of work into these shows, but it is what it is. But if you guys feel like there's any value, there is the Cash App there. No pressure whatsoever. Guys, probably be back here tomorrow. But yeah, MOT everything. Much love. Peace.